Chapter 997. In the night sky, the people of the Raging Fire region retreated like a tide, turning into meteors in the sky and disappearing. However, the servants on the ground did not move so fast. They all looked panicked as they galloped back, trampling each other and causing countless casualties. Balls of divine power illuminated everything outside the castle. The people of the Sparrow region naturally did not dare to chase after them. They were much weaker than their opponents. If they chased after them, Dongfang Yen would order them to turn back and attack, and the strength of the Sparrow region would be greatly reduced. Cough, cough, cough. After Feng Zhanlin landed on the ground, he coughed violently. His face was pale and the wounds on his body were still bleeding. However, he was not the most miserable. Feng Zhanhai's injuries were even more severe. At most, Feng Zhanhai could fight 4 god emperors alone. It was already a miracle that he did not die. Looking at the corpses on the ground, the Sparrow region and the Raging Fire region were evenly divided. The Raging Fire region had many people and could afford to die, but the Sparrow region was different. This battle had really hurt them. For a moment, Feng Zhanlin's eyes were full of desolation. He could not help but kneel down and cry, "Father, Feng Zhanlin is unfilial. I failed to protect the great cause you left behind. Feng Zhanlin has let down the ancestors of the Sparrow region, brother." Feng Zhanhai walked over with the help of a servant. He frowned and said, "You have not let down the ancestors. You have tried your best." It was the Raging Fire region that was too overbearing. Besides, this battle, the Raging Fire region had the momentum to win, but they were defeated. Our Sparrow region was not defeated. Feng Zhanlin slowly stood up and came to Lin Muyu and Qin Yin. He said respectfully, "Lin General, thank you. Otherwise, the Sparrow region would not have been able to escape this disaster. Thank you Lin General for defeating Dongfang Yen. Otherwise, today would have been the day of the Sparrow region's extinction." "I, Feng Zhanlin, thank you on behalf of the entire Sparrow region," Lin Muyu said lightly. "You don't have to thank me, Territory Master. If you hadn't consumed Dongfang Yan's power, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to succeed. The most important thing now is to treat the wounded quickly and regroup. The Raging Fire territory won't give up the attack on the Sparrow territory so easily. If everything goes well, Dongfang Yen will come back after he recovers." Feng Zhanlin's face was ashen. "Yes, I understand. Men, collect the corpses of the dead and treat the wounded immediately." "Yes, Region Lord." Feng Zhanlin turned around. "Lin General and the ladies are also injured. Please rest in the castle." "Yes." Lin Muyu and the others really needed to rest. After entering the domain castle, they stayed in their original places, applying medicine and healing their wounds. In the early hours of the next day, cries could be heard from every corner of the castle. Too many people had died in the battle last night, and the population of the Sparrow territory was small to begin with. Many people had lost their loved ones, so it was inevitable for them to cry. Dong dong dong, there was a knock on the door. A maid said respectfully, "Is Lin General awake?" Lin Muyu opened her eyes and moved her body slightly. She felt a sharp pain from her wounds. She said, "Yes, what's the matter?" The maid said, "Region Lord asked me to bring you the Ling Lang fruit, a spirit fruit that can speed up the healing of wounds." "Got it. Leave it outside." "Yes." As the footsteps faded away, Lin Muyu was still lying on the bed. Beside him, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin were sleeping soundly in his arms. Everyone had been injured last night and needed Lin Muyu's healing power, so he had enjoyed a night of bliss. It was just that his injured body couldn't enjoy it at all. Carefully pushing away Qin Yin's arm, Lin Muyu tried to sit up but found Tang Xiaoxi's snow-white leg across his body. This girl was always so restless when she slept. He lifted Tang Xiaoxi's snow-white leg and carefully moved it away, but Tang Xiaoxi seemed to be dreaming of something. She opened her arms and hugged him even tighter. A pair of proud peaks pressed against Lin Muyu's chest. Damn it! Lin Muyu had no choice but to kiss her on the lips and whispered, "Okay, I'll go get breakfast." Only then did Tang Xiaoxi loosen her grip and continue to fall asleep. There was indeed a plate of fruit on the ground outside. It was Linglang fruit, a spirit fruit that had a miraculous healing effect. However, there were not many of them. It could be imagined that most of the wounded in the Sparrow domain didn't have the right to eat it. Lin Muyu put the fruit in the room with a guilty conscience, so he put on his cloak and walked out. It was good for his injuries to heal more. In the garden corridor, Feng Zhanlin was strolling. There were also 3 god emperors and Feng Zhanhai. They all looked very dispirited. When they saw Lin Muyu, they immediately came up and bowed respectfully, "Greetings, Lin General." Lin Muyu hurriedly said, "Domain Lord, no need to be so polite. Why is Lin General up so early? I can't sleep. Isn't it the same for Domain Lord? How much strength did we lose last night?" "Nearly half." Feng Zhanlin's face was very ugly. "If Dongfang Yen invades again, I'm afraid we won't have enough strength to resist the Raging Fire domain. In fact, the Raging Fire domain's losses are not small." "Oh?" Feng Zhanlin was stunned. "What does Lin General mean? Is there a deeper meaning?" Lin Muyu smiled. "What I'm saying is, if the Wind Region Lord wants to fight against the Raging Fire region with the power of the realm of Soul Sparrow alone, then the realm of Soul Sparrow will definitely perish. The only way for the realm of Soul Sparrow to survive is to unite." "Unite?" "Yes, there are other domains near the Sparrow domain. They must have been bullied by the Raging Fire domain for a long time, right?" "This." Feng Zhanlin frowned. "There are 2 domains near the Sparrow domain. One is the Celestial Foothill domain, and the other is the Golden Dragon domain. The Golden Dragon domain has been bullied the most. The people from the Raging Fire domain have attacked the Golden Dragon domain's castle twice. Even the domain lord of the Golden Dragon domain, Wu, was forced to marry his daughter, Wu Yu, to Dongfang Yen." "It can't be." Lin Muyu was shocked. "Dongfang Yen is already so old. How can he take a concubine?" Feng Zhanlin said, "Yes, Dongfang Yen knows how to collect yin to nourish young. It is said that he has dozens of wives and concubines in the castle. The mental cultivation method he practices is called the 5-yang sword technique. The word yang emphasizes the harmony of yin and yang, so the 5-yang sword technique is very fierce and overbearing. I think Lin General has seen its power." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded. "Many of us have died under the 5-yang sword technique. According to Domain Lord Feng, we can unite with the Golden Dragon domain. Once the 2 weak domains unite, we may be able to compete with the Raging Fire domain." Feng Zhanlin frowned. "It's not that I don't want to, but I have no choice. Why? This has been going on for a long time. A few years ago, I tried to persuade Domain Lord Wu Feng, but he refused. Wu Feng is very stubborn and doesn't want to cooperate with others. His son, Wu Su, is a real playboy. He is arrogant and has a bad reputation. So even if I want to ally with the Golden Dragon domain, I'm afraid the Golden Dragon domain will not be willing to cooperate with us." "How strong is the Golden Dragon domain?" "We're considered the weakest among the regions in the south. We have a total of 5 emperor gods, 22 divine kings, and more than 200 ultimate gods. However, our Sparrow territory lost too many people last night, so our current strength should be similar to the Golden Dragon territory. Domain Lord, are you willing to go with us to persuade the Golden Dragon domain again?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. Feng Zhanlin was stunned. "Lin General still wants to ally with the Golden Dragon domain? It's not that I want to, but I have to do it." Lin Muyu pondered for a moment before her eyes glinted. if the Golden Dragon Realm is willing to ally with us, that would be for the best. If not, we'll destroy the Golden Dragon Realm and forcefully take over their forces. Feng Zhanlin was shocked. This. I'm afraid it will start a war. The war has already begun. Don't you know, Domain Lord? This, Feng Zhanlin thought for a few seconds and said, all right, I understand. When do we go to the Golden Dragon Domain? We leave at noon and arrive in the afternoon. All right. When it was almost noon, Tang Xiaoxi, Qin Yin, Shi Yan, and the others woke up. They dressed up and set off with Lin Muyu, Feng Zhanlin, and Feng Zhanhai to the Golden Dragon Domain. The distance between the Golden Dragon Domain and the Sparrow Domain was more than 300 kilometers. Most of the way was desert, and it was currently summer. The group avoided the areas where the wind saw was and carefully flew through the mountains in the desert. When it was close to dusk, the desert finally disappeared from the horizon. It was replaced by an area of the Gobi Desert, and a dense forest could be seen in front of them. The weather in the primordial mystery land was very abnormal, and the geographical environment was often unexpected. The originally impossible terrain could be connected, but Feng Zhanlin and the others were already used to it. Not long after, there were signs of people in the forest ahead. There were even paths in the forest, and they could vaguely see white and blue flags fluttering in the air. It was cavalry. Soon, they could hear the sound of hooves. There are cavalry in the Golden Dragon Domain? Lin Muyu frowned. Yes. Feng Zhanlin smiled. Although the Golden Dragon Domain is one of the weakest among the 64 domains, it has a large number of local servants. The domain castle of the Golden Dragon Domain is also quite large, with more than 200,000 servants living there. Wu Feng and his son covet these mortal pleasures, so they formed a large army and forged armor to protect their territory. In addition, it is said that they built a city on a large scale, and there are countless mortal beauties inside. Lin Muyu frowned and did not say anything. But not long after, they could see wooden stakes erected on the side of the road. The wood was still new, indicating that it had just been made. There were cries coming from under the stakes. Many people dressed like commoners were being pointed at by the cavalry with swords. There were already people who had been killed on the stakes along the way. The bodies were nailed there, and some were even twitching. What's going on? Lin Muyu was a little surprised. Feng Zhanlin said, this is the execution of the people from the Golden Dragon Domain. Should we go down and take a look? Let's go. Chapter 998. The pain of a nail being driven into the wrist was unbearable for most people. Many people were just nailed to the wooden stakes, waiting for their blood to run dry and die. It was extremely cruel, so much so that some of the people who hadn't been nailed to death were crying crazily. Not far away, a man sobbed and knelt on the ground, crying. Stand up, you piece of trash. The knight pointed his cold sword at him. The man refused to get up until the knight's sword pierced his back. Only then did he stand up, trembling. His eyes were red as he said, I don't want to die, I really don't want to die. The knight sneered, do you think you can stay alive just because you don't want to die? At this moment, a few figures descended from the sky. It was Lin Muyu and the others. People who descended from the sky must be gods. There was no doubt about it. The group of knights from the Golden Dragon Domain dismounted and knelt down. Greetings, gods. May I know which domain you are from? Feng Zhanlin said lightly, I am Feng Zhanlin from the Sparrow Domain. The leader of the knights was a middle-aged man with a big beard. He was startled for a moment, then smiled. So it is the Domain Lord of the Sparrow Domain. What brings the Domain Lord to our Golden Dragon Domain? Just passing by. Feng Zhanlin looked at the prisoners being executed along the way and asked, Sir Knight, what crimes have these people committed? Who gave the order to punish them? The captain of the knights grinned. Oh, this is the order of the young region master to punish these criminals. As for their crimes. When the young region master was building the palace in the castle, these lowly people were slacking off and embezzling the funds for the construction of the palace. Well, at least most of them were punished because of this, but this one is different. Lin Muyu was surprised. How is he different? The leader of the knights took a deep look at Lin Muyu and said with a smile, "You may not know this, but this boy is a manservant in the courtyard. Originally, he was only in charge of cleaning the courtyard and serving tea. However, yesterday, he dared to break the young master's favorite moonlight cup while he was cleaning. So, in a fit of rage, the young master decided to execute him by cutting his waist." "Cut him in half?" Qin Yin frowned. "What a cruel punishment." The captain smiled and said, "Miss, being cut at the waist is already considered a light punishment. In our Golden Dragon domain, there are dozens of other punishments, such as blinding, pouring silver, amputating the wrist, molting the skin, and torturing the heart. You want to kill someone just for breaking a cup?" Tang Xiaoxi didn't understand. "Yes. These are the rules of the Golden Dragon domain. These untouchables are just servants. They were born to serve the gods of the Golden Dragon domain, but if they dare to rebel, they will be killed. This is the rule of iron and blood, and there will be no compromise. This has been the rule of the Golden Dragon domain for thousands of years, and it has never changed." Lin Muyu sneered, "No wonder the Golden Dragon realm has never been able to grow stronger. It has always been so weak." "What did you say?" A young cavalryman on a white horse immediately drew his sword and pointed it at Lin Muyu. "I dare you to say that again. Who do you think you are? How dare you insult the rules of our Golden Dragon domain in our territory?" Lin Muyu didn't get angry with him. She just waved her hand and said with a smile, "I am who I am." "Why? Can't you scold the rules of the Golden Dragon domain? How dare you?" The young cavalryman's sword fell from the air. Clang! With a crisp sound, Lin Muyu only drew the Xianyuan sword an inch out of its sheath, but the edge of the sword met the cavalryman's sword and broke it. The cold airflow blew out and threw the young cavalryman off his horse. He was at most in the heaven realm, so how could he compare with a celestial emperor like Lin Muyu? Instead, it was the captain who shouted, "Wu Yong, do you want to die? How dare you offend a god? You must be tired of living." As he said this, he hurriedly apologized, "God, I'm really sorry. My subordinate is young and ignorant, so he offended you. Please don't argue with this idiot." Lin Muyu smiled. "Don't worry, I won't get angry with an ant. But Sir Cavalryman, can't these people be pardoned? Must they be killed?" "No." The captain's voice was calm. "If I pardon them and spare their lives, I'm afraid that I'll be the one to die if the young lord pursues the matter. Moreover, as a soldier of the Golden Dragon domain's servant army, I have to obey the young lord's orders. So, please don't make things difficult for me. These criminals in front of me must die." Immediately, the young man who broke the moonlight cup hurriedly crawled forward and hugged Lin Muyu's boots. He cried loudly, "God, save me, save me. I still have a 12-year-old sister who has no one to take care of. If I die, my sister will starve to death or become someone else's concubine. Please save me, God." Lin Muyu was ruthless when she killed people, but when facing helpless people, she couldn't help but feel compassion. She raised her head and said, "Sir Knight, I want to protect the dozens of criminals in front of me in the name of the Spirit Sparrow region. Can I? If they cause any damage to the Golden Dragon domain, I'll talk to the young master face to face and ask for compensation or other solutions." The captain frowned. "This," Feng Zhanlin said coldly, "what, can't I?" Behind him, the dozen or so gods brought by Feng Zhanhai all pulled out their swords and bows. If they really fought, the Golden Dragon domain's cavalrymen would probably be completely wiped out. The captain had no choice but to cup his fists and said, "Then, please follow me back to the domain castle. This way, I can answer to the young master. What do you think? Okay. Lin Muyu readily agreed. Thus, the group of people escorted the prisoners and followed the cavalry to the domain castle. When the sun completely set in the west, a huge golden castle appeared in the wilderness. The Golden Dragon Domain, just like its name suggested, there was a huge dragon head carved on the gate of the domain castle. It was made of pure gold, and just the dragon head alone cost at least 300 kilograms of gold. The richness of the Golden Dragon Domain could be seen from this. Lin Muyu looked up at the golden dragon head with mixed feelings. Although this ancient secret territory was the residence of the gods, it had not completely broken away from the customs of mortals. In fact, it was better than mortals, and the attacks between the gods were the same as mortals. The only difference between the gods and mortals was their strength, but there was no essential difference. The living facilities in the domain castle were very simple. Homeless people could be seen eating cold steamed buns and poor people suffering from all kinds of illnesses. In stark contrast, there was a golden palace in the distance. The Golden Dragon Palace was the center of the Golden Dragon Domain, and also the residence of Wu Feng, Wu Su, and other rulers. The young master is playing in the garden. Hee, gods, please wait here. I'll go in and inform him. The captain said respectfully. The garden was a garden behind the Golden Dragon Palace Hall. It was elegant and unique. Green vines crawled along the black and white brick walls, and flowers decorated them from time to time. The palace walls were 5 meters tall, even taller than the palace walls of the Zetian Palace Hall. Lin Muyu and Qin Yin couldn't help but look at each other. This small Golden Dragon Domain really knew how to enjoy life even more than the emperors of the mortal world. A few minutes later, the captain came back and said, "Gods, the young master said that only the Feng Domain Lord can go in. The others are not qualified to see the young master." Feng Zhanlin's face turned cold. What does that mean? Does the puny Wu Su really think he's the emperor of the Golden Dragon Domain? Lin Muyu didn't say anything. He suddenly swung his right hand and the hilt of the Xianyuan sword slammed open the iron gate. The invisible elephant spell spread out, forcing the servants and guards to kneel. He stepped into the garden with Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan. The guards along the way didn't dare to be vigilant, but they all knelt under the control of the invisible elephant spell. Who is so bold? Not far away, 2 people in golden armor rushed over. They were 2 godly state experts. It just so happened that Lin Muyu also wanted to see how strong the gods of the Golden Dragon Domain were. Unfortunately, the 2 ultimate gods were unbelievably weak. They could barely move forward after stepping into the domain realm when they were within 50 meters of Lin Muyu. When they were within 10 meters of Lin Muyu, they were already panting heavily with their faces turning pale. "Kneel," Lin Muyu said lightly. Plop, plop, the 2 gods knelt on the ground. Their faces were full of surprise, but it turned into awe. It was a natural reverence for someone stronger. They said respectfully, "Is it the Emperor God?" Lin Muyu didn't answer. She just led the people of the Linke domain into the depths of the garden. In the distance, there were sounds of laughter and people moving among the flowers. Under the flower racks made of rare flowers and fruits, a dozen or so beautiful maids were sitting on the jade steps. They wore thin silk clothes, and their exquisite and enchanting figures were faintly discernible. In the middle of the jade steps, a young man in a golden robe was lying. His head was resting on the white and slender legs of a maid, and he was hugging a woman on each side. His hands were moving up and down the women, and he was even humming a tune. He seemed very uncomfortable. Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan's faces immediately turned ugly. As women, they were most unwilling to see such a scene of a man enslaving a woman. The leader of the cavalry hurriedly went forward and said, "Young lord, they broke in." "What? Wuxia turned around and stood up from the group of beauties. His face was considered handsome, but he looked sick. He raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Feng Zhanlin, you broke into my garden without permission. What is the meaning of this?" "Nothing. I'm just helping old Master Wu Feng discipline his useless son." Feng Zhanlin stepped forward and slapped Wuxia's face with his fingers like lightning. He was immediately pushed back nearly 10 meters. "Bastard!" Wuxia had never suffered such humiliation before. As he slid back along the ground, he controlled his external force and quickly spread out a domain that only a god emperor could possess. Raging flames surged out of his body as he said angrily, "Feng Zhanlin, how dare you come to my golden dragon domain and behave atrociously." Chapter 999. Men, summon the guards of the main hall. Wuxia clenched her teeth. The young master's attire on her body was burned to ashes. Her expression became extremely ferocious. She looked at the maids and said, "My darlings, enter the inner court. Your husband is here to take care of some matters." The maids left one after another. At the same time, more and more guards of the Golden Dragon domain appeared. There were many god state experts among them, but they were much weaker than Lin Muyu and the others. The leader of the knights was a sensible person. He said hurriedly, "Young master, don't be so agitated. I think the Feng domain lord came here with good intentions. Why don't we wait for the domain lord to come and decide, good intentions?" Wuxia still felt the burning pain on his face. His eyes were full of resentment. He said, "Feng Zhanlin, don't think that you can do whatever you want in the Golden Dragon domain just because you are a senior. This is my territory. You are nothing here." Feng Zhanlin crossed his arms in front of his chest and said indifferently, "Is that so? Well, I was seriously injured in the battle with Dongfang Yan a day ago. Now I can only use less than half of my strength. Since you are also an emperor god, why don't we have a fight? You really have no sense of shame." Wuxia sneered, "A dignified 84th stage paradise god emperor dares to provoke me, a young junior who has just entered the god emperor realm. Feng Zhanlin, you have disgraced the entire Spirit Sparrow region." Feng Zhanlin couldn't help but laugh. "What do you want to do?" Wuxia's eyes were cold. "Nothing. When the people of the Golden Dragon domain arrive, we will deal with you according to the rules of the Golden Dragon domain. You, Feng Zhanlin, trespassed into the garden without permission. My father will not kill you because of your friendship. Then I will kill your subordinates as a warning to others." Wuxia's eyes swept across Feng Zhanhai, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and the others. When he saw Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan, he couldn't take his eyes off them. "Who are they?" Wuxia asked. The leader of the knights said hurriedly, "They came with the Wind Region Lord." It was this young man who said he wanted to save the prisoners' lives and was willing to compensate. "Young Region Lord, this was originally a misunderstanding. Please don't be angry, lest the relationship between the two regions is damaged. It's none of your business." Scram. Wuxia's expression was quite ferocious. She looked deeply at Lin Muyu and asked, "What's your name?" Lin Muyu greets the young domain lord. Lin Muyu's smile was extremely lazy. It was obvious that she did not take this young domain lord seriously at all. Her gaze and tone made it seem as if she was looking at a true rookie. "Who are the three of them?" Wuxia pointed at Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan. "Oh." Lin Muyu knew that he was a lecher. She put an arm around Qin Yin's shoulder and said, "This is my wife. The one beside her is also my wife. The other one is my sister-in-law." Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi immediately blushed. This was the first time that Lin Muyu publicly acknowledged the relationship between the three of them. They were happy but also angry. They did not know what to say. Shi Yan, on the other hand, was very calm. She silently wondered what the heck was a sister-in-law. Wuxia, on the other hand, was angry and resentful. She said, Lin Muyu, you want to protect the lives of those lowly people? Yes. Huh. Wusu sneered and said, they broke my moonlight goblet. This moonlight goblet is priceless. I bought it with 700,000 gold ingots. How are you going to compensate me? That's easy. Lin Muyu fumbled in her Qianquan pouch and found a familiar handle. She pulled it out. It was indeed the Thunder God hammer. She threw it out immediately. Bang! The war hammer smashed into the jade stairs, causing a cloud of dust to fly out. Lin Muyu smiled and said, is this compensation enough? This is. Wusu was stunned. The Thunder God hammer, the weapon of the ancient Thunder God. It is one of the supreme artifacts of the ancient times. Is this enough to compensate for your moonlight goblet? Even 10 moonlight goblets should be enough. Wusu narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? Nothing. In your words, I am using this to buy the lives of those lowly people. Before Lin Muyu's voice died away, a majestic voice suddenly came from the sky. Who is so arrogant to buy the lives of the people of the Golden Dragon territory? An old voice slowly fell beside Wusu. It was the territory lord of the Golden Dragon territory, Wu Feng. Feng Zhanlin immediately cupped his fists. Feng Zhanlin pays respect to the old territory lord. Wu Feng also nodded. Lord Feng, we haven't seen each other for many years. I didn't expect to meet you here. Yes. At least 100 God State warriors of the Golden Dragon territory appeared and surrounded Feng Zhanlin, Lin Muyu, and the others. They all looked at them covetously. Father. Wusu's face was still red and swollen. He said, it is this guy named Lin Muyu who brought people here to make trouble. He even took out a hammer and smashed my jade stairs. A hammer? Wu Feng's expression changed when he saw the Thunder God hammer. It's a divine artifact. That's right. Lin Muyu nodded. At this time, Feng Zhanlin said respectfully, Old Territory Lord, this time I brought my people here not to make trouble, but to make friends with the Golden Dragon territory. I think you know what happened yesterday. The Raging Fire territory started a war with the Sparrow territory. They were defeated yesterday and Dongfang Yan was injured, but they will definitely come back. The Raging Fire territory has always bullied our two territories, and we have been bullied for so many years. Therefore, this time I came here to unite the two territories and fight against the Raging Fire territory together. Unite? Wu Feng stroked his beard, and a gleam of light shot out from his aged eyes. We, the Golden Dragon realm, have our own rules. Everything is a separate matter, and everything should be in order. Lord Feng, you and this guy named Lin Muyu came to Wu Su's garden to make trouble. Is this true? Feng Zhanlin's face darkened. Yes, it's true. Wu Feng looked at Lin Muyu and said with a smile, Lin Muyu, who are you? How can you be so reckless? Is the Golden Dragon Palace a place where you can break into at will? The Golden Dragon territory has its own rules. You protect these lowly people and make an enemy of the Golden Dragon Palace. Is this how you come to the Golden Dragon territory to discuss an alliance? I have lived for so many years, and the affairs of the 64 territories are getting more and more interesting. Lin Muyu also laughed heartily. What are you laughing at? Wu Feng said coldly. Lin Muyu put the Xian Yuan sword and its scabbard on the ground and said with an awe-inspiring aura, I'm laughing at how the Golden Dragon territory is a good place to look at the sky from the bottom of a well. A group of God State overlords hide in the well and enjoy their lives, but ignore the bullying and insults of the Raging Fire territory. They only know how to abuse the mortals. No wonder the Golden Dragon territory has always been the weakest among the 64 territories. You don't even dare to challenge the experts. What kind of divine territory is this? It's like a dry well that is about to die. What did you say? Many god state overlords in the crowd retorted. However, when Lin Muyu looked at them calmly, she realized that more than half of the godly state experts looked ashamed. Her words had hit the nail on the head, and it had undoubtedly pierced the most painful part of their hearts. But Wu Feng narrowed his eyes and said, "Good, you have guts." What a battle of words. Domain Lord Feng, are you here to discuss an alliance with our Golden Dragon realm with such a despicable man who only knows how to talk nonsense? Feng Zhanlin smiled faintly and said, "With all due respect, if the Region Lord thinks that he is an arrogant person, then the old Region Lord is really blind." Feng Zhanlin, what do you mean? Wu Su was furious and pointed at Feng Zhanlin and said, "What else does this Lin Muyu have other than arrogant words? He is just a piece of trash who plays to the gallery and seduces women." Wu Su had already probed Lin Muyu with his divine power, but what he found was like a silent ancient well. Her strength was at most at the hierarch realm, which was why Wu Su dared to say such a thing. Trash? Lin Muyu could not help but smile. "Young Region Lord, take out your weapon. I want to tell the whole Golden Dragon territory who is the real trash. You want to challenge me?" Wu Su seemed to have heard the biggest joke in the world. "That's right. What about the bet? Young Region Lord has the final say." "Very well." Wu Su sneered, "If you lose, the 3 women behind you will all become my concubines. How about that?" Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were furious, but Shi Yan grabbed their hands and did not say anything. "Very well." Lin Muyu's words were shocking. "However, if I win, you must commit suicide to apologize to all the innocent people who died in your hands. How about that? Commit suicide to apologize?" Wu Su was shocked. "You want to bet my life?" Lin Muyu nodded and looked at Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi with gentle eyes. "They are more important to me than my life. If you take them away, isn't that the same as betting your life with me?" "Interesting, ha ha ha, then let's bet your life." Wu Su's face was full of greed and insolence as he roared, "Someone, bring me my universe saber." Wu Feng's face was livid. "Wu Su, are you crazy? Do you know how strong this person is? He dares to bet his life?" "Father, I will take care of my own business. Don't ask." "You." Wu Feng was so angry that his entire body trembled, but there was nothing he could do. He was the one who spoiled his son. A few minutes later, a saber was carried over by 2 servants. It was at least a substandard artifact, just right. Only this kind of weapon was worthy of being the Xianyuan sword's opponent. Clang, Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the Xianyuan sword. At this moment, Wu Feng's face was full of shock, but it was too late to say anything. When Lin Muyu began to increase her divine power and the surface of her body overflowed with waves of 60 levels of heavenly insight divine power, Wu Su's face was full of shock. Lin Muyu's cultivation level was the same as his, but the strength of her divine power was at least 70% stronger. Chapter 1000. This Qinkuan saber is made of cold iron from ancient times. After 3 years of refinement by a divine craftsman, its blade is sharp and indestructible. Wu Su stroked the handle of the saber with a cold look in her eyes. "Lin Muyu, don't blame me for not warning you if your head gets chopped off by the heaven and earth saber." Wu Su stroked the handle of the saber. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She pointed the Xianyuan sword at her opponent. "My sword is the Xianyuan sword." These simple words stunned Wu Feng, Wu Su, and countless experts of the Golden Dragon territory. Who hadn't heard of the Xianyuan sword? It was an ancient divine weapon that had been fought over by the 64 territories for tens of thousands of years. It was the sword of the way of the king, and it was irreplaceable. In an instant, everyone's view of Lin Muyu changed. Someone who could have the Xianyuan sword must not be a nobody. The 2 divine artifacts produced different clanging sounds. Before they even came into contact, their auras had already begun to compete. Wu Su was the first to attack with a shout. The cosmic saber was instantly enveloped in flames. His body suddenly rose into the air and then fell down. He was so fast that it was as if he had built an arch bridge of flames in the garden. As an expert of the God Emperor realm, it was impossible to be weak without some skills. Although Wuxia was addicted to wine and women, he didn't completely neglect his cultivation. This powerful strike had shocked and worried the experts of the Sparrow territory brought by Feng Zhanlin. However, in Lin Muyu's opinion, Wuxia's ferocious attack was nothing like that. In terms of strength, Wuxia's attack was worthy of the cultivation of a god the arch. However, in terms of speed, the slightest difference could lead to a huge difference. A true god Thearka's speed should not be this slow. Since Wuxia was so slow, he must have a backup plan. He rushed forward and unleashed half of his Xianyuan sword's divine power. He swung it at the cosmos saber. Boom! The flames and the power of stars collided in the air. Sure enough, Wuxia's strike was fake. After landing, he kicked out with a powerful force on the tip of his foot. If he was hit by this kick, he would be crippled even if he didn't die. The quick attack was a feint, the real killing move was the kick from behind. Fortunately, Lin Muyu was prepared for this. She did not look down on this foppish playboy. She stomped on the ground with her battle boots and jumped up. At the same time, she dodged the kick with her long sword. The stardust on the blade of the sword surged and condensed into a mountain rock. It was the 5 mountains descending from the heavens of the stars' arts. Moreover, the mysterious energy of the invisible elephant spell was activated, which doubled the power of the 5 mountains descending from the heavens. What? Wuxia was stunned. He never thought that Lin Muyu could not only dodge his sure-kill attack, but also counterattack so quickly. Moreover, the speed and strength of her counterattack were superior. He quickly raised his wrist and used the Qianquan saber to block Lin Muyu's attack. Pang! Finally, the 2 divine weapons collided heavily. The power of Lin Muyu's attack was so powerful that Wuxia's hands were numb. His feet also broke the stone floor and sank into the gravel. The airflow blown out by the sword suddenly swept out, forcing the onlookers to use their arms to block the impact of the powerful Gang Qi. Good fight! Wuxia roared angrily. He brandished his saber with both arms and slashed at Lin Muyu, who was in the air. The Qianquan saber transformed into the 8 trigrams constellation. Strands of righteous force wrapped around Lin Muyu like a net. It looked like an impenetrable defense. The defensive martial art of the Law of Fire in the Golden Dragon domain was really not simple. Feng Zhanlin, who was watching the battle from the sidelines, could not help but nod his head in approval. No wonder the Golden Dragon domain was able to survive among the 64 domains despite being so weak. One could see how powerful this martial technique was. Wuxia was already so powerful when using the Wu clan's martial technique. If his father, Wu Feng, were to use it, how powerful would he be? In the face of Wuxia's perfect defense, Lin Muyu was not in a hurry. He knew this kind of defense, which was similar to the 8 trigrams formation, very well. He knew it when he set up the 8 trigrams formation during the battle with the Devil tribe. Now Wuxia's martial art was only scratching the surface of the yin and yang taishu. The so-called yin and yang of the 8 trigrams were endless, strong and weak alternating, and the moment of alternating was the greatest weakness. Seeing the opportunity, Lin Muyu held the Xianyuan sword with both hands and stabbed down. Swish! The sword edge was covered with flames. The spiritual power of heaven and earth rushed in from all directions, and the space was instantly distorted. It was the 5 elements 8 waste destruction. Wuxia already knew something was wrong when Lin Muyu made the move. It was as if his weakness was completely exposed to the opponent's attack, and everything about him was completely seen through. Pang! The heaven and earth saber was violently surging, and Wuxia immediately felt something sweet in his throat. He almost vomited blood, and the saber in his hand hung down as if it didn't listen to his command. He took a few steps back and hit the stone pillar of the pavilion behind him. But Lin Muyu's attack was more than one sword. The cold wind came, and this time it was the law of ice. The Xian Yuan sword was surrounded by ice light, and it swept toward Wu Su's throat in an arc. Wu Su could only scream. The heaven and earth saber was shaken off by the Xian Yuan sword with a clang, and Wu Su broke the pillar. The whole pavilion collapsed in an instant. He still wanted to go, so he stepped on the ground and jumped up. However, Lin Muyu had already descended from the sky. With a pang sound, her combat boot landed heavily on Wu Su's shoulder. There was a faint sound of his shoulder blade breaking. Wu Su spat out a mouthful of blood as he tumbled to the side of the lotus pond. Before he could stand up, Lin Muyu had already swept over and stomped heavily on his chest with her combat boot. Cough, cough, cough. Wu Su was seriously injured, and he coughed violently. How many years have you been cultivating till now? Lin Muyu's clear eyes were filled with arrogance as she looked down at Wu Su from above. Everyone else was stunned, but no one stepped forward to stop them. This was a contest between two God-Emperor realm experts, and according to the rules of the 64 regions, outsiders were not allowed to interfere. Wu Su coughed a few more times, and said with bloodshot eyes, more than 300 years. That's all you've got after 300 years? Lin Muyu's face was full of disdain, and she said, I've cultivated for a total of 12 years, from nothing to stepping into the God-Emperor realm. Now tell me, who's the trash between the two of us? I'm trash. Wu Su's body trembled, and blood and tears flowed from his eyes. Young Region Lord. Not far away, a large man shouted, you can't admit defeat. How can our Golden Dragon region bear such humiliation? Shut up. Wu Fengfeng shouted. Lin Muyu looked at Wu Su and said indifferently, you're too greedy for wine and women, so you didn't focus on cultivation. With just the two of you, the Golden Dragon region will only become weaker and weaker, and eventually be devoured by the Raging Fire region. As she spoke, Lin Muyu took a step back and removed her foot from Wu Su's chest. She said, all right, according to our previous agreement, if I lose, I'll pay with my wife. If you lose, you'll pay with your life. Young Region Lord, you can kill yourself now. Lin Muyu suddenly opened her left hand and snatched a guard's sword from him, and threw it straight in front of Wu Su. No, absolutely not. Wu Feng's old face was full of anger, and he said, how can life and death be treated as child's play? I only have one son, and I can't let him die like this. Lin Muyu, Feng Zhanlin, what do you want? Feng Zhanlin touched his nose and said with a smile, Old Region Lord, we've already said that we're only here to seek cooperation. Only when the Sparrow Domain and the Golden Dragon region join forces can we resist the powerful Raging Fire region. Let's join forces then. Wu Feng was disappointed. Great. I'll use all the resources of the Golden Dragon region to fight the Raging Fire region with you. Really? Old Region Lord? Feng Zhanlin was pleasantly surprised. What else? What else can we do? No, I don't agree. Before Wu Feng's voice died away, Lin Muyu said clearly, at first, we wanted to join forces, but young Region Lord Wu Su was so aggressive that I changed my mind. Now, we're not joining forces, but merging. The Golden Dragon region will join the Sparrow Domain and become a part of it. From now on, there will be no more Golden Dragon region. What did you say? Blue veins popped out on Wu Feng's face. Lin Muyu, who do you think you are? What gives you the right to say that you want to annex the Golden Dragon region? This is for the good of the Golden Dragon region. Lin Muyu looked at the group of God-state warriors of the Golden Dragon region and said in a clear voice, Wu Feng is old and muddle-headed, and Wu Su is rebellious and ignorant. Do you think that these two can revitalize the Golden Dragon region? I think the Golden Dragon region will be destroyed in less than 10 years. On the other hand, the region lord of the Sparrow Domain, Feng Zhanlin, is superior in both cultivation and strength. He treats people with kindness. This is not annexing the Golden Dragon region, but finding a better home for the people of the Golden Dragon region. The crowd fell silent. Although the group of God State warriors did not speak, their expressions showed that they were a little shaken. After all, most of them knew Wu Feng and his son very well. Just this alone was enough to disappoint the people of the Golden Dragon region. Now, with the amazing strength displayed by Lin Muyu, and the superb speech from a foreign land, and the sword of the king as proof, the hearts of the people of the Golden Dragon region were naturally swayed. Feng Zhanlin was a man of action. At this time, he stepped forward and said respectfully, "The former region lord is a senior, and I, Feng Zhanlin, am just a junior. I respect the former region lord, but the Golden Dragon region cannot be so decadent. This will only bring disaster to the gods of the Golden Dragon region. Therefore, I, Feng Zhanlin, would like to invite the heroes of the Golden Dragon region to join the Sparrow Domain and fight against the strong together. Since ancient times, we are weak when we are divided, and we are strong when we are united. When the Sparrow Domain sweeps over the prehistoric mystery land, we will raise our cups together and share the prosperity." The group of God State warriors of the Golden Dragon region was even more moved. Wu Su's face was livid. He did not commit suicide, but pointed at the group of people and scolded, "You traitors! My Wu family has given you glory and wealth, but now you have the heart to betray us. You are not worthy of being gods." Lin Muyu could not help but snicker. Wu Su had lived for more than 300 years, but his mind was like that of a 3-year-old child. His scolding made the people of the Sparrow Domain even more loyal to the humble people. Stupid, extremely stupid. Chapter 1001. Wu Su, why haven't you killed yourself? Are you waiting for me to help you? The fire cyclone around Lin Muyu flowed back, and the spirit beads of law were about to break out of her body. Everyone in the Golden Dragon Domain was dumbfounded. At this time, they were even more certain that Lin Muyu's strength was extraordinary. Judging from the number of spirit beads of law, she was at least at the Master God level, maybe even higher. A sovereign spark. Everyone knew exactly what that signified. The Northern Heaven Realm's godly king Dongming relied on the Frost Law's Lord God latent deity to create an everlasting great cause. Until now, he had stood tall in the Northern Heaven Realm without collapsing. On the other hand, the Purple Jade Fairy relied on the Life Law's Lord God latent deity to be able to move unhindered across 64 domains and destroy 2 domains in a row. Therefore, smart people had to have a vision for development when choosing masters to follow. Following a master god was much better than following a pair of unknown father and son. In the crowd, a red-haired girl raised her hand and smiled. "I, Luo Xintian of the Nanshan tribe, am willing to join the Sparrow Domain and follow Lady Lin Muyu from now on." Lin Muyu turned around and saw Luo Xintian wearing a red skirt. She looked youthful and lively, at most 17 or 18 years old, but her strength was somewhat frightening. Between her breathing, there were 62 waves of divine power. This was a freak of the God Emperor realm. Therefore, she cupped her fists in the Shattered Cauldron realm's military salute. "Thank you, young lady. Come over here." "Yes." Luo Xintian leaped and landed beside Lin Muyu in the next moment. A faint fragrance of a young girl wafted from her body. "Thank you for your support, young lady." Lin Muyu smiled in a low voice. "Don't mention it. I like you. You are handsome, powerful, farsighted, and knowledgeable. Naturally, you are much better than that father and son." With that, Luo Xintian stared into the distance. "Big stupid cow, aren't you coming over?" Coming. A huge and sturdy young man leaped up and landed right next to Luo Xintian. He rubbed her head, smiled and said, "Xintian, you're the descendant of the South Mountain tribe." Do you really want to join the Spirit Sparrow region? How could it be fake? Luo Xintian put her hands behind her back and said to Lin Muyu with a smile, Madam, this stupid bull is called Niu Gung. Although he is only a 55th heavenly grotto heaven godly king, he was born with brute force. Even I am no match for him. He is the strongest bull in our tribe. I am willing to work for you. Lin Muyu smiled happily. Thank you, Niu Gung. There's no need to be so polite, my lord. Niu Gung scratched his head and actually looked very embarrassed, causing Lin Muyu to curse in her heart. He was too straightforward. As a result, Wu Su, who was sitting on the ground, turned pale. Luo Xintian, are you crazy? Have you ever thought about the future of the Nanshan tribe by betraying the Golden Dragon domain so openly? Why? Does the young lord want to take revenge on the Nanshan tribe? Luo Xintian smiled faintly. Her pure and flawless eyes suddenly flashed with killing intent. She said, if I remember correctly, you should have already committed suicide to apologize, right? Madam Lin Muyu, kill him, he is threatening me. Lin Muyu, Feng Zhanlin said loudly, the Sparrow region respects the wise and lowly. As long as you join the Sparrow region, you will be ranked according to strength and contribution. Is there anyone else who is willing to join the Sparrow region and fight against the Raging Fire region together? More people in the crowd responded. Soon, more than half of the God State overlords that Wu Feng brought with him were on Feng Zhanlin's side. The rest were also hesitating. Clang! The Xianyuan sword was unsheathed again. Lin Muyu flew forward and pressed the sword against Wu Su's neck. The sword instantly pierced through the wall and blood oozed out. She asked indifferently, do you really want me to help you? No. No. Wu Su's face turned pale. He shook his head repeatedly, don't kill me, I don't want to die. Wu Feng's voice was also trembling, don't kill my son. I will agree to whatever you want. Feng Zhanlin was overjoyed and said, then, may I be so bold as to ask you to bring your people to join the Sparrow region and fight against the Raging Fire region together? Join? Wu Feng looked dispirited, let's join, no. Lin Muyu suddenly shook her head and said, I can spare Wu Su's life, but you must take Wu Su away from the Golden Dragon domain and the Sparrow region and promise me that you will never come back. You? Are you expelling me? Wu Feng said angrily. No, I am asking you to leave respectfully, Lin Muyu said sternly. The Golden Dragon domain needs a better master, don't you think so? You? Wu Feng trembled with anger. Feng Zhanlin frowned and went forward to ask in a low voice, Lin General, why do you want to expel them? Lin Muyu nodded and said, the father and son have been operating in the Golden Dragon domain for thousands of years. In fact, they are already well established. If we don't expel them, they will be a hidden danger after they join the Spirit Sparrow domain. When that time comes, Wu Feng will raise his arm and call for help, and the Spirit Sparrow domain will be reorganized. Therefore, we only want the people of the Golden Dragon domain, not the domain master. Feng Zhanlin was relieved and his face was full of respect. Lin Muyu was much more farsighted and meticulous than him. No wonder the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor appointed him as the left marshal of the Eastern Heavenly Realm. Therefore, Feng Zhanlin changed his words and said, as long as you leave with Wu Su, I will send you 5,000 servants, as well as countless gold, silver, and jewelry. No matter where you go, you can continue to enjoy wealth. What do you think, old region master? Do I have any other choice? Wu Feng asked coldly. At the same time, the divine power in his body began to increase rapidly. His old face was a little distorted, you are forcing me. How could Golden Dragon you allow himself to be captured so easily? Are you guys dreaming? Wu Feng was about to make his move. But at this moment, an even more vigorous aura suddenly surged, forcibly suppressing Wu Feng's God Emperor domain. When everyone looked back, they saw a six-winged seraph descending from the sky. Shi Yan held the Chiwa sword in her hand like a goddess descending to the earth. Her eyebrows were full of arrogance and disdain. Wu Feng, who are you? How dare you be so arrogant? Six-winged seraph. Everyone in the divine realm knew about the strongest existence in the West. Wu Feng had seen the power of the seraph with his own eyes. Even the god emperor of the 99th heaven was killed by the seraph in a few moves. Who was he? Perhaps this seraph had cursed so much that his old eyes were blurred and he could no longer see clearly. Shi Yan's seraph transformation was completed in an instant and ended in another instant. She returned to her gentle and dignified demeanor. So it's the seraph, the seraph. Wu Feng frowned and slowly knelt down. He said, I admit defeat. I, Wu Feng, admit defeat. I don't want anything. I'll leave with Wu Su. This golden dragon domain is yours. At this moment, a few godly state experts, including a god emperor expert, rushed out and said loudly, Region Lord, wherever you go, we will go. We will never regret it. No. You guys should stay here. Wu Feng said. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. No, they will go with you. There is no point in keeping them in the spirit sparrow domain. There was indeed no point in having the same goal but not the same goal. Wu Feng went forward to help the seriously injured Wu Su up. A trace of resentment flashed across his face. He flew out of the Golden Dragon Palace with a few godly state experts and disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. Feng Zhanlin couldn't help but burst into laughter. He opened his arms and said, Everyone, listen to me. From now on, the Golden Dragon domain will officially join the Spirit Sparrow domain. You and I will follow the East Heaven Realm's left army Marshal Lin Muyu to fight against the strong enemies of the Raging Fire domain and create a grand plan in the ancient mystery realm. Everyone applauded. Although many God State strongmen used to live a good life in the Golden Dragon domain, and they had endless beauties and delicious food, it was obviously much better than the lifeless life in the past. Moreover, they had a new master, and this new master actually had another identity, Marshal of the Left Army of the Eastern Celestial Court, which made him even more worthy of loyalty. Lin Muyu said, Change all the signboards of the Golden Dragon domain to the Spirit Sparrow domain. The Golden Dragon Palace will be renamed to the Spirit Sparrow Palace. From now on, this palace will be the headquarters of the Spirit Sparrow Palace. In addition, the original castle of the Spirit Sparrow domain is too small and too close to the Raging Fire domain. It is easy to be attacked. Region Lord Feng, why don't you order all the people of the Spirit Sparrow domain to move here? The Golden Dragon domain castle is larger and more prosperous. Yes. Feng Zhanlin said without hesitation, I will do it immediately. In addition, will the spiritual orchard also be moved here? It would be best if it can be moved. I will do my best. Please rest assured, Lin General. Thank you for your hard work, Region Lord. Thus, Lin Muyu officially had a new foundation in the 64 domains. Although the Region Lord of the new Spirit Sparrow domain was Feng Zhanlin, everyone knew that the real master was actually Lin Muyu. He was the real number one. Moreover, the Spirit Sparrow Palace was indeed comfortable. It allowed Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan to live well and eat well. This was also one of Lin Muyu's great wishes. As a man, this was something he should do and was duty-bound to do. 3 days later, the Spirit Sparrow domain was moved to the new castle. Feng Zhanlin was also aware of the big picture. If the Golden Dragon domain was still divided into 2 castles after merging, they would not be able to defend together and would be easily attacked one by one. Therefore, although the castle of the Spirit Sparrow domain was a foundation passed down from their ancestors, they still had to give it up. Indecisiveness would only lead to chaos. Feng Zhanlin understood this simple principle. 10 days later, the migration was completed. All the wealth in the castle of the Spirit Sparrow domain was moved, and the people were all moved to the new city. As for Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and the others, they began to cultivate again, still working hard to improve their cultivation in the cave of gods and demons. Lin Muyu's next goal was the 70th layer of Heavenly Cave, but he did not know how long it would take to achieve it. Chapter 1002. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Lin Muyu and the other 3 had spent almost every day in the cave of gods and demons. After 3 months of cultivation, Lin Muyu and Qin Yin had stepped into the 65th Grotto Heaven realm at almost the same time. Tang Xiaoxi had also succeeded in becoming a monarch a month ago, and was now a 62nd Grotto Heaven realm little fox. As for Shi Yan, her progress was the slowest, and she was still lingering on the edge of the 10th Grotto Heaven realm. There was no other way, the power that was destroyed by the Divine Pact could not be so easily cultivated back. However, Lin Muyu was well aware that even if Shi Yan was only at the 10th Grotto Heaven realm, her usefulness was no less than that of a 90th Grotto Heaven realm God Emperor. A blazing angel at the Great Perfection realm had directly intimidated Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai, Wu Feng, and the other God Emperors. If not for Shi Yan, Feng Zhanlin and the others would not have submitted so easily. The moonlight scattered on the icy plains outside the cave of gods and demons. After 3 months, the ancient mystic realm had already entered winter. There was even a heavy snowfall a few days ago, and the accumulated snow had not melted yet. On the layers of snow, Lin Muyu laid on her back with her hands behind her head, and a wild grass root in her mouth, leisurely swinging her battle boots. Beside her, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin were also there. I wonder how long Sister Haiyan can last this time. Qin Yin smiled hopefully. It has already been 8 hours, and she still hasn't come out. Don't worry, we all know Shi Yan's strength very well. Her understanding of power is far above the 3 of us, and she knows how to use it and cultivate. Lin Muyu looked at the bright moon in the sky, and said, I am very worried about the Empire. We have been here for half a year, and I wonder how Brother Feng and Sister Chu Yao are doing. Did the feudal vassals and the National Assembly continue to make things difficult for them? Qin Yin smiled. Half a year here is half a month in the Shattered Cauldron world. Nothing big will happen. After the National Assembly attacked Situ Sun, the Longdan army camp has taken a series of measures as punishment, and the National Army has even lost basic mobility. With Feng Jixing, Situ Sun, and Wei Chou guarding Lanyan City, I believe nothing will happen. Oh? Why is Xiao Yin so confident that nothing will happen? Because it's very simple. The corners of Qin Yin's mouth curled up, revealing 2 beautiful little dimples, and said, Zhuang Yan, Su Changjing, and the others are only relying on Imperial Uncle Qin Lian's authority. But I still understand Imperial Uncle better. He is calm as water, and when Imperial Father and Qin Yi were still here, Qin Lian handled things calmly. This time, he must feel that constitutionalism is a long-term strategy, so he supported it. But at the end of the day, he is a member of the Qin family, and it is impossible for him to help Zhuang Yan and the other feudal vassals divide the Qin family's world. You see things clearly. Lin Muyu's eyes were like torches as she smiled, and said, if I'm not wrong, the current National Assembly should be changing its blood. I believe in Brother Feng's ability. When we return to the Shattered Cauldron world, the National Assembly will be a real National Assembly, no longer controlled by the feudal vassals. But, before we officially lose control of the National Assembly, Zhuang Yan, Yang Zhong, and the others will definitely counterattack once. It all depends on how Brother Feng handles this counterattack. Don't worry. Qin Yin sat up, held his hand, and felt warm. She said, since we're already in the prehistoric mystic realm, let's not think about the Shattered Cauldron world anymore. Just leave that place to Feng Jixing, Qin Yan, and the others. Why isn't Xiaoxi saying anything? She's asleep. Qin Yin turned around, and felt a little helpless. Tang Xiaoxi was leaning on her arm, and she was already breathing softly. As expected, she had fallen asleep. But at this moment, Lin Muyu suddenly raised her eyebrows. Someone's coming. The spirit pulse technique discovered a fluctuation of divine power 20 kilometers away. The person was very fast, and with a shatter of the void, he had already arrived on the snowy plains. There weren't many people who could find this place, and Feng Zhanlin was one of them. The person who had come was him. At this moment, Feng Zhanlin was the domain lord of the reorganized Spirit Sparrow region. He had a huge territory under his control, and he had a strong army. He wore a golden robe embroidered with a fierce tiger, and he had the air of a general. Domain Lord Feng, why are you here? Lin Muyu sat up. Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists and said respectfully, Lin General, something happened in Spirit Sparrow region. Why? Raging Fire region attacked? That's not it. Feng Zhanlin smiled. I've heard that Lin General injured Dongfang Yan's heart meridian. I'm afraid Dongfang Yan won't be able to attack Spirit Sparrow region for 2 to 3 months. This incident was caused by Sky Foothill region. Sky Foothill region? Yes. Feng Zhanlin nodded and said, the Celestial Foothill domain is the Machi clan's territory that has been passed down for generations. Moreover, it's less than 100 miles away from the Linke domain. It's probably because we've merged the Golden Dragon domain that we've attracted the attention of the Celestial Foothill domain. Not long ago, there was a battle in the Yangling Valley between the two domains. The Linke domain lost an ultimate god while the Celestial Foothill domain lost 3 ultimate gods. That's a small skirmish. That's right, but we can't ignore the fact that Sky Foothill region dared to fight us. I think Sky Foothill region Lord Machi Lin has already decided to take action against us. Since ancient times, how can others sleep next to one's bed? Golden Dragon domain's previous owners, Wu Feng and Wu Su, were not ambitious, so Sky Foothill region turned a blind eye. However, it's different now. Golden Dragon domain has merged with Spirit Sparrow region, so Machi Lin can no longer ignore our existence. Lin Muyu pondered and asked, what kind of place is Sheep Spirit Valley? It's a deep valley, but it's full of spiritual energy. Even in winter, hundreds of flowers bloom as if it's spring. There are many wild and undiscovered spiritual fruits in the Yang Spirit Valley, so the Yang Spirit Valley has always been a place of contention. Whoever possesses the Yang Spirit Valley will be able to nurture more godly state experts. Territorial Lord, what do you mean? I think we must fight for Sheep Spirit Valley, and there will be a war between us and Sky Foothill region. Very well. How strong is Sky Foothill region? Tell me the truth. Feng Zhanlin was stunned and said, although Sky Foothill region isn't as strong as Raging Fire region, it's not too bad either. Territorial Lord Machi Lin has long entered the 86th level Grotto Heaven while his cousin Machi Lei is at the 81st level Grotto Heaven. The entire Sky Foothill region has 9 Emperor Gods, 64 Divine Kings, over 200 Ultimate Gods, and over 10,000 servants. What about our Spirit Sparrow region? Feng Zhanlin was a little embarrassed. He touched his nose and said, I've disappointed Lin General. Including Lin General and the ladies, the Spirit Sparrow region has a total of 15 Emperor Gods, 102 Divine Kings, over 500 Ultimate Gods, and over 30,000 servants. Then we're much stronger than Sky Foothill region. Lin Muyu's gaze became determined. Fight. Destroy Sky Foothill region before the Raging Fire region comes looking for trouble. We'll eat their power and strengthen ourselves. Does that mean Lin General agrees? Yes. Great, that's great. Feng Zhanlin said confidently, I think Machi Lin will definitely gather his men to defend Sheep Spirit Valley and take back this place. Therefore, I've decided to lead my men to fight tomorrow. If possible, Lin General, please bring Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Lord Seraphim. It'll be best if we can get the most results with the least cost. Yes, I know. Lin Muyu said cheerfully, territorial lord, go back and prepare. We'll stay in Spirit Sparrow region tonight and depart with you tomorrow. Yes. Feng Zhanlin flew away in the blink of an eye and turned into a meteor in the sky. Lin Muyu looked back and saw Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi staring at her with wide eyes. She could not help but feel awkward. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm not a piece of meat. Tang Xiaoxi giggled. But it's delicious. You make it sound like you've eaten it before. Tang Xiaoxi's face instantly turned red. She could not take the teasing at all. Qin Yin said seriously, are we really going to war with Sky Foothill region? Of course. If we don't fight others, others will come and fight us. Lin Muyu lay back down on the snow and said, since we've come to the prehistoric mystic realm, if we don't overturn the seas and rivers, we won't be worthy of this trip. The two beautiful girls smiled knowingly. At this moment, a piercingly cold divine power of light rushed out of the cave of gods and demons. It was Shi Yan. She looked very energetic. Although her body was covered with icicles, the charm in her eyes was leaping and soaring like never before. Congratulations, Sister Shi Yan. You've broken through. Thank you. Shi Yan patted the ice on her body and said, I really did not expect. I could jump from level 10 to level 20 in just one day. What? Sister Shi Yan reached level 20 Grotto Heaven? Qin Yin was shocked. Yes, why? Is it abnormal? Shi Yan said. No, it's just that my advancement was too slow before. Now it's so fast. Lin Muyu smiled and said, this is called good preparation. The slow progress is just to lay the foundation for the leap in the future. Shi Yan said, I heard sounds outside just now. Is there going to be a fight tomorrow? Yes. Very good. Shi Yan reached out and grabbed at the void in front of her. Immediately, a thin sword condensed from streams of light appeared. It was Chiwa. She smiled slightly and said, I just happen to want to exercise my muscles. Once I step into the God King realm, I'll probably be able to use all 7 slashes. That's for the best. Lin Muyu jumped up and patted the ice off her body. Let's go. We can still eat supper when we return to Spirit Sparrow region. Okay, I want to eat venison hot pot. I want to eat purple potato rice. No, I want to eat bear paw hot pot. You guys are so troublesome. Just eat it all. However, Lin Muyu did not seem to need to worry about this. Spirit Sparrow region was many times larger than before. With just the few of them, it was impossible to exhaust the Spirit Sparrow region. As for wild game, it was even more convenient. Spirit Sparrow region had hundreds of god kings and ultimate gods. They could just go out and hunt in the wild. Simple. Moreover, Feng Zhanlin had already arranged for people to take care of the food. He had some understanding of Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi. These gods did not use their strength to bully the weak, they were not lustful, and they were not greedy for power. Their only weakness was that they had very high requirements for food. Chapter 1003. The next day, Spirit Sparrow region's castle was solemn. Though the news of the impending battle was sealed, the entire castle seemed to be shrouded in an oppressive atmosphere. In Spirit Sparrow Palace, Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai and the others stood respectfully below the stairs. There was only one throne in the palace, and this throne belonged to Lin Muyu. Even Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan just stood at the side. This throne was made of pure gold. Actually, Lin Muyu didn't like it. It was too hard, and it sat on his butt. However, he still calmly sat down. He was the only one who could give out orders. Many of the god emperors and god monarchs in the hall actually only obeyed him, but not Feng Zhanlin. Lin General, please give the order. Feng Zhanlin said respectfully. In the crowd, God Emperor Luo Xiantian smiled. Are we going to fight, Big Brother Lin General? After a few months of familiarity, Luo Xiantian had her own way of addressing Lin Muyu. Yes. Lin Muyu smiled. Everyone should have guessed that Sky Foothill region is trying to provoke us. Since that's the case, we have to let them know our power. So today, we will go all out to Sheep Spirit Valley. No matter how many people from Sky Foothill region come, don't think of leaving. Everyone, remember, don't kill them. We will destroy Sky Foothill region, but don't kill all their people. Luo Xiantian nodded, yes. Niu Gung said very honestly, Lin General, don't worry. Our fists will be measured. Then get ready to go. Yes. When the sun rose, hundreds of godly state experts left the Ling Sparrow domain and flew at a low altitude towards the Sheep Spirit Valley in the east. Lin Muyu knew very well that the period when Dongfang Yen was recuperating was the best time for the Ling Sparrow domain to expand. If they missed it, when Dongfang Yen made a comeback, the Ling Sparrow domain would not be able to withstand it. After all, the absolute power was there. In the Sheep Spirit Valley, there was a wide valley. In the morning, hundreds of flowers bloomed and dew covered the ground. Under the sunlight, one could faintly see a faint golden aura rising from the ground. This was spiritual energy visible to the naked eye. It was the nourishment of this spiritual energy that made the Sheep Spirit Valley feel like spring all year round. Even though the land of the prehistoric mystery dimension was covered in ice and snow, this place still felt like spring. In the middle of the canyon, among the rocks and weeds, there was a group of people dressed in green. They were the people of the Sky Foothill region. In the crowd, a middle-aged martial artist with a resolute appearance and reserved divine light was sitting on a rock. The saber in his hand was reflecting a terrifying cold light under the sunlight. This person was the Celestial Foothill region's region lord, Machi Lin, a God Emperor realm expert who possessed peerless martial arts. Will the Spirit Sparrow region really come? Machi Lin asked. At the side, a slightly younger cultivator nodded and smiled. They will come. Don't worry, big brother. If I'm not wrong, Feng Zhanlin will personally bring people over. But how many people he brings will depend on whether he thinks highly of our Sky Foothill region. Machi Lin frowned. Second brother, is the legend true? Machi Lin was stunned. What legend? In the Spirit Sparrow region, there is a six-winged seraph holding down the fort, and there is also a young man with the overgod spark called Lin Muyu. Is that true? This has not been confirmed. Machi Lin's gaze turned cold. If it is confirmed, then what should we do? Second brother, with our strength, we can indeed kill Feng Zhanlin and Feng Zhanhai in this Sheep Spirit Valley. But if they have the help of a seraph, I'm afraid we will fail here today. You should have heard about what happened in the Golden Dragon region. Looks like this rumor is most likely not false. I don't believe that a seraph would really come to this barren land. Machi Lei said, Big brother, you believe those rumors too easily. Think about it, what kind of existence is a seraph? They are dominator-level monsters that can control the heaven realm. They are extremely honorable in the god realm. Why would they come to the ancient secret realm to suffer? Think about what there is in this secret realm. Other than slaughter and conflict, there is probably only a pile of ancient divine weapons that have been lost somewhere. But what if? Machi Lin's brows were tightly furrowed. The Sky Foothill region that you and I created for hundreds of years isn't easy. We can't let it be destroyed like this. I have a bad premonition. If the Blazing Angel really comes, let the brothers retreat. There's no need for this battle. Retreat? Machi Lei said, Big brother, it is easy for you to say. The arrow is already on the bowstring, it has to be released. Moreover, if Feng Zhanlin and Lin Muyu really come, they will not let us leave. These people are ambitious, destroying the Golden Dragon region in a day. That is the Wu family's Golden Dragon region for tens of thousands of years. Sigh, Machi Lin suddenly looked up, a beam of flowing light flew over from afar. It was a divine king of the Sky Foothill region. He said respectfully, "Region Lord, people are coming, people from the Spirit Sparrow region are coming." "How many people are coming? Who are they?" "I can't see clearly who they are, but there are more than 400 god realms." "What?" Machi Lin was shocked. He clenched his fists and said, "Why do they have so many god realms?" "Region Lord, they merged the Golden Dragon region almost unharmed. Damn it, retreat." "I am afraid, it is too late." Machi Lei's voice trembled. Suddenly, a bright golden light bloomed in the sky. There was a faint sound of God. A huge golden wool suddenly spread out. In the next moment, a strong domain power fell like rain, controlling the area within a few miles of the Sheep Spirit Valley. Machi Lin and the others only needed to use their power slightly to find that the law of breaking through the void was already sealed. That is God will? Machi Lin's body trembled slightly. How can there be a great perfection God Emperor in the Spirit Sparrow region? Did Feng Zhanlin already break through in a short time? Impossible. At this moment, figures appeared on the surrounding mountains. In the blink of an eye, over 100 God Realm experts of the Sky Foothill region were surrounded. A majestic force as strong as a mountain swept over. On top of the mountain, a handsome young man wearing a white robe and armor slowly flew over with a sharp sword in his hand. It was Lin Muyu. Feng Zhanlin, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Shi Yan, and the others came with Lin Muyu. As for the godly beast Fu Zhu, he was watching from afar. If anything went wrong, he would flood the Sheep Spirit Valley. What is the meaning of this? Machi Lin was very calm. Feng Zhanlin smiled slightly. Long time no see, Region Lord Machi. Machi Lin coldly glanced around and saw that the surrounding mountains were already filled with people from the Spirit Sparrow region. He couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart as he said, "It seems that the Wind Region Lord has decided to eat us." Decided? Where did that come from? Feng Zhanlin held his sword and said, "Courtesy demands reciprocity. The Sheep Spirit Valley is not anyone's territory. Since the Sky Foothill region can come, the Spirit Sparrow region can naturally come as well." However, the people from the Sky Foothill region were overbearing yesterday and killed an ultimate god of the Spirit Sparrow region. Is that true? Deaths are common in disputes between two sides, Machi Lin said. However, we did not expect Region Lord Feng to bring so many people over. You are quite ambitious. Feng Zhanlin laughed. It's not that I'm ambitious, I just don't want to be bullied. What do you mean? Feng Zhanlin raised his eyebrows. Your Sky Foothill region is the same as our Spirit Sparrow region. You have been bullied by the Raging Fire region for hundreds of years. There is no other reason. We fight on our own and are naturally not a match for the Raging Fire region, but if we work together, it may not be the case. Ha ha ha. Machi Lin could not help but laugh wildly. Looks like Region Lord Feng wants to use the same trick again, to destroy our Sky Foothill region like how you destroyed the Golden Dragon region. However, he slowly held the blade horizontally in front of his chest, divine power breaking out of his body, and said with an imposing manner, "Unfortunately, I, Machi Lin, am not Wu Feng. I will not give up without a fight. If you want to destroy my Sky Foothill region, then you must step over my dead body. Feng Zhanlin, come at me. I, Machi Lin, am not a person who is afraid of death. If you want to destroy my Sky Foothill region, then do it. I just don't know if your sword is sharper, or if my bones are harder." Feng Zhanlin gritted his teeth. As the legend said, the Sky Foothill region's Machi family was a bunch of hard bones, stubborn even when cooked. They would not admit defeat. Seeing that Feng Zhanlin was at his wit's end, other than attacking, Lin Muyu coughed. Machi Lin and Machi Lei immediately looked at Lin Muyu. "Could you be Lin Muyu?" Machi Lin said. "That's right, that's me." "Looks like you aren't as strong as the legends say," Machi Lin said directly. Luo Xintian, who was behind Lin Muyu, was immediately unhappy. She raised her long sword and said, "Machi Lin, are you blind? Lin General is clearly very strong." Machi Lin frowned, but did not argue with her. He just asked, "I just want to ask, who was the one who activated the God will just now? To actually be able to control the plane within the entire region, I want to meet this expert." "Meet what? Are you going to surrender or not?" Luo Xintian was naturally hot-tempered. Instantly, the people of Sky Foothill region were all enraged. They all took out their swords, weapons, and stood in the air, their divine power exploding. They shouted angrily, "Let's fight, who's afraid of who?" The people of Sky Foothill region are not easily frightened. Right at this moment, Lin Muyu suddenly stretched her palm forward. Immediately, a buzzing sound of airflow could be heard as a huge golden roulette expanded rapidly. The piercingly cold airflow even forced Machi Lin and Machi Lei to unleash their energy to defend against it, while the rest of the people with lower cultivation base were shocked by the tens of meters tall golden roulette and were sent flying backward. The heaven and earth dimmed, and the power of a God Emperor could be seen. "You are not a great perfection God Emperor, but you can use the God wheel." Machi Lin looked calmly at Lin Muyu, and an answer was on the tip of his tongue. "Sovereign personality." Lin Muyu had a bright smile on her face, and her voice was very calm. "Machi Region Lord, are you willing to join us, and rule the 64 regions together? As long as you join, Spirit Sparrow Region will establish Sky Foothill Hall and Spirit Sparrow Hall. You will be the Hall Master of Sky Foothill Hall, and you will be on the same level as Feng Zhanlin. So, this is not a merger, you are different, you are joining the alliance." Chapter 1004. Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists at Machi Lin and said politely, "Region Lord Machi, although the primordial mystery realm is called the 64 domains, it is only a general name. Since ancient times, the 64 domains have been a world of great battles. At most, there are 273 domains, and at least, there are 8 domains. In such a world of great battles, we naturally have to adapt to the situation. If we only rely on the strength of one of our domains, we will definitely be swallowed by the raging fire domain. Divided, we will be weak; united, we will be strong. I hope the Region Lord will consider this carefully." The Xianyuan sword in Lin Muyu's hand was enshrouded in waves of golden waves that dissipated into the surrounding air. However, it gave off a sense of righteousness. Even God Emperors like Machi Lin and Machi Lei felt like they were being summoned by the way of the king. In addition to Lin Muyu's extraordinary appearance and righteousness, Machi Lin could not help but waver a little. "Big brother, the Celestial Foothill region, we." Machi Lei seemed to want to say something. However, Machi Lin waved his hand lightly and said, "Second brother, there is no need to say anything. Region Lord Feng is right. Divided, we will be weak; united, we will be strong. Since we have painstakingly built the Celestial Foothill region, we should find a good home for our brothers." As he spoke, Machi Lin slowly bent his body and knelt on one knee in front of Lin Muyu. He looked up at him and said, "I hope that you can fulfill your promise and lead us brothers to conquer the 64 domains. From today onwards, we will never be bullied by anyone. Get up, I will." Lin Muyu bowed and helped Machi Lin up. He smiled awkwardly and said, "We really had no choice but to bring such a big lineup today. We don't dare to look down on our brothers from the Celestial Foothill region. I hope the Region Lord will be magnanimous enough to forgive us." Machi Lin also smiled and said, "You are too polite. What are you saying? Brothers, I, Machi Lin, have decided to join the alliance. What about you?" Most of them were awed by the spirit will power displayed by Lin Muyu. How could they have any objections? They all knelt on the ground and said, "We are willing to join the alliance with the Region Lord." "Good, good." Lin Muyu's eyebrows relaxed, and he finally felt relieved. At this moment, he had enough power to resist the Raging Fire territory. Thinking about it, back in the Shattered Cauldron realm, she only had a few God realm experts under her command. But now, Lin Muyu could command more than a dozen God emperors. How mighty was that? At the side, Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists and said, "Lin General, this subordinate feels that, since we're joining the alliance, why don't we keep the name Spirit Sparrow Region and Sky Foothill Region, and give our new alliance a new name? Wouldn't that be better?" Lin Muyu nodded happily. "Alright, but what should we call it?" He looked at Qin Yin. Qin Yin looked around and said with a smile, "How about we call it the Dragon Rebel Battle League? If the Raging Fire region provokes us again, we'll let them know how powerful we are." Dragon Rebel Battle League. That's too long. Let's call it the Dragon League, Tang Xiaoxi said. Qin Yin smiled happily. That's good too. Brother Yu, how about Dragon League? Lin Muyu looked at Feng Zhanlin and Machi Lin and said, "What do you think? How about we call it the Dragon League from now on?" Both of them were uncouth men. They immediately cupped their fists and said, "We have no objections." "Alright, it's decided then." Machi Lin muttered and changed his mind like Feng Zhanlin. "Lin General, since our Sky Foothill region has joined the alliance, then, it won't be like the Spirit Sparrow region, where we have to abandon our original territory and move to the Spirit Sparrow Castle, right? Do you think it's appropriate, Lord Machi?" Lin Muyu asked modestly. "The territory of the Sky Foothill region was built by us after hundreds of years of hard work. I feel it's a pity. How about?" Machi Lin thought for a few seconds and said, "I would like to request that only the God Realm experts move to the Spirit Sparrow Castle, while the servants and civilians stay in the castle to recuperate and provide food and spirit fruits. What do you think, Lin General?" "That's appropriate." Lin Muyu nodded and agreed. "Just do as I say, Lord Machi. As long as the God Realm experts go to the Spirit Sparrow Castle, it'll be fine, just in case the Raging Fire region attacks us." "Yes, I understand." Machi Lin's face showed some relief. In his opinion, Lin Muyu, as the leader of the Dragon League, was willing to listen to his suggestion politely. Such a talent could become the overlord of the 64 regions. Therefore, both sides put away their weapons. Machi Lin led close to 300 God Realm experts and followed Lin Muyu back to the Spirit Sparrow Castle. He only sent the servants back to transport the resources. On the way, when they found out that Shi Yan was a blazing angel and Fu Zhu was a ferocious beast, Machi Lin and Machi Lei were even more shocked. They looked at Lin General in a new light. He could even tame the legendary Fu Zhu. This kind of person was really not simple. After returning to the Spirit Sparrow Castle, the most important thing was to arrange a place for the people of the Sky Foothill region. Fortunately, Wu Feng and Wu Su were extravagant and had built 2 new palaces in the castle. It was just enough for the people of the Sky Foothill region to rest. 2 days later, a large amount of resources were continuously transported from the Sky Foothill region. There were weapons, rations, spirit fruit trees, etc. The Machi brothers had managed the Sky Foothill region for many years, so they naturally had many treasures. Machi Lin naturally wanted to offer some to the leader of the Dragon League. Unfortunately, he was rejected by Lin Muyu. If she wanted treasures, she could find them herself, there was no need for her subordinates to offer them. This naturally made the Machi brothers admire her even more, and they treated each other with sincerity. Straightforward people did straightforward things without much hesitation, so they were naturally easier to get along with. On the 3rd day, the gate of the Spirit Sparrow Castle was replaced with the words Dragon League. Feng Zhanlin's subordinates also started to make the Dragon League's war flag. There was a dragon-shaped pattern, which was somewhat similar to the war flag of the Longdan army camp. Lin Muyu saw this and didn't say anything. The Dragon League was the power of the divine realm, but the original intention of Lin Muyu establishing the Dragon League was to help her pacify the various countries of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Therefore, the people of the Dragon League would sooner or later become the generals of the Longdan army camp, from captaincy to Kiliarchs and centurions. If even the centurions of the Longdan army camp were at the Divine Realm, who could resist such an army in the Shattered Cauldron realm and the Celestial Pole continent? Just like that, the order in the Spirit Sparrow Castle was slowly established. More than 10 days later, everyone got along well with each other. Apart from some conflicts, such as sparring and impulsiveness, there wasn't much else. Feng Zhanlin and Ma Qilin were both leaders with both prestige and strength. The two of them had one thing in common, which was that their strength was above Lin Muyu's, but they were also very respectful of Lin Muyu. With the two of them managing the Dragon League, it was guaranteed that nothing would go wrong. After a while, Lin Muyu naturally continued to cultivate in the Cave of Gods and Demons with Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Shi Yan. At this time, there were already endless spirit fruits, so the cultivation process was also twice as fast. In the blink of an eye, another 3 months passed. Everyone's cultivation progressed by leaps and bounds. Lin Muyu had already stepped into the 69th Heavenly Abode realm and could break through to the 70th Heavenly Abode realm at any time. Qin Yin was one step ahead of her, she had already cultivated to the 71st Heavenly Abode realm. It was understandable that the difficulty of cultivating the Over-God lattice was slightly lower than that of the Sovereign lattice. Tang Xiaoxi followed closely behind, having cultivated to the 66th Heavenly Abode realm. As for Shi Yan, she had already recovered to the 30th Heavenly Abode realm, and had once again stepped into the God King realm. It could be considered a huge breakthrough. At night, the sky was filled with stars. In the domain castle of the Raging Fire domain, the huge fortress was completely silent. Dongfang Yan, who was dressed in a white robe, sat upright in the main hall. As he breathed, raging flames spread out around him. He slowly opened his eyes, which were filled with radiance. "Congratulations, Domain Lord, it seems that your injuries have completely healed." Dongfang Jin, who was waiting on the side, said happily. Dongfang Yan nodded and said in an old voice, "A lot of things happened during my seclusion." Dongfang Jin, tell me everything. What happened to the group of people who injured me? Dongfang Jin frowned and said, Domain Lord, they made a big move. We have already inquired and found out that the kid who injured you is called Lin Muyu, a new god emperor from East Heaven. It seems that his relationship with the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor and Xiao is not simple. In the 6 months that Domain Lord was in seclusion, Lin Muyu and Feng Zhanlin joined forces to destroy the Golden Dragon domain, and then they fought with the Sky Foothill domain in the Sheep Spirit Valley. What was the result of the battle? Dongfang Yan squinted his eyes. Dongfang Jin's expression did not look good as he said, Ma Qilin and Ma Qilei led the Sky Foothill domain to surrender to Lin Muyu. It is said that Lin Muyu used a spirit will to make Ma Qilin and the others surrender, letting them know that Lin Muyu's divine personality is the legendary Sovereign Personality. Sovereign Personality. Dongfang Yan's eyes were filled with killing intent. Then, we have even more reason to start a war. Domain Lord, I have inquired that Lin Muyu has conquered the forces of the Spirit Sparrow domain, the Golden Dragon domain, and the Sky Foothill domain and established a Dragon League. Currently, the Dragon League has a total of 24 God Emperors, 166 God Kings, and more than 800 Ultimate Gods. Its strength is comparable to the Raging Fire domain. In addition to the Sovereign Personality Lin Muyu and Seraph Shi Yan, I'm afraid we won't be able to gain any advantage if we challenge them rashly. Why don't we plan slowly? Oh. How do we plan slowly? Dongfang Jin sneered and said, after the Golden Dragon domain was destroyed, the Domain Lord Wu Feng and his son Wu Su came to the Raging Fire domain. Why don't we give them a servant army and order them to attack the empty Sky Foothill domain castle? As long as Lin Muyu dares to lead the main force to the Sky Foothill domain, we will destroy the empty Spirit Sparrow Castle in one go so that they can't look after each other. Good. Good plan. Dongfang Yen smiled faintly. In this way, we will be in an invincible position. Bring Wu Feng and his son to see me. I want to talk to them about this personally. Yes. Wu Feng seemed to have aged a lot. His face was full of wrinkles. After losing the Golden Dragon domain, his mental state was very bad. Even his strength was greatly reduced. Domain Lord Wu Feng, it's been a long time. Dongfang Yen greeted him personally. Wu Feng said with a trembling voice, sigh. I'm ashamed. Thank you, Domain Lord Dongfang, for accepting us. What are you saying, Domain Lord? We are all gods of the 64 domains. We should support each other. Don't worry, Domain Lord. I, Dongfang Yen, will definitely help you take back what you lost. However, before that, I hope Domain Lord can do one thing for me. Yes, I will definitely do it, ha 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 ha, good, good. Chapter 1005. I wonder, what do you want us to do? Wu Feng asked cautiously. It's simple. Dongfang Yen waved his sleeves and said indifferently, lead the few God Realm subordinates you have now and bring 10,000 servants to the east and take over Machi Lin's domain castle of Heaven Foothill. What? Wu Feng was shocked, we only have a few God Realm experts left. How can we stop Brother Machi? Don't worry, Domain Master. Machi Lin and Machi Lei are already in Linkei Castle. That's the capital of Dragon League. The domain castle in Heaven Foothill region is empty. You won't meet the main force if you attack Heaven Foothill region. Your opponents might even be a group of mortals. Dongfang Jin smiled, old domain master went to attack Heaven Foothill region, so we can take the chance to attack Linkei Castle. Oh no, this domain castle was originally called Golden Dragon Palace. It was old domain master's home, hee. Dongfang Jin's lukewarm words caused Wu Feng to frown, while Wu Su raised his brows and said, Deputy Region Lord Dongfang, we, father and son, have come together. Why must you ridicule us like this? Come to join you? Dongfang Jin couldn't help but laugh, young domain master, I'm afraid you don't understand the meaning of joining. Since you have come to join me, you are now people of Raging Fire region. You are my subordinates. Your attitude towards me is enough to give you 100 lashes. You. Wu Su was furious. Dongfang Jin laughed mockingly and said, I heard that the young Protectorate Lord was publicly humiliated by Lin Muyu in the Golden Dragon region. Both of them had just entered the Celestial the Arch Realm, but Lin Muyu defeated the young Protectorate Lord within 10 moves. What do you mean by this? Wu Su's face was cold. Nothing. Dongfang Jin clapped his hands and said with a smile, Young Domain Lord, you've lived a carefree life in the land of gentleness since you were young, so I'm sure you've never been humiliated. I think this is where young Domain Lord loses. Young Domain Lord only knows the softness of a woman's breasts, but you don't know the strength of a man's fists. As young Domain Lord, you don't think about improving yourself. When I was at young Domain Lord's age, I had already stepped into the 80th heaven realm, but you're still immersed in the land of gentleness. Dongfang Jin, what is the meaning of this? Wu Su roared angrily. At the side, Dongfang Yen and Wu Feng remained silent and didn't say anything. They seemed to intend for Dongfang Jin to educate Wu Su. Dongfang Jin chuckled. Young master, do you know why the Raging Fire territory is so strong? Why can the Raging Fire realm stand proudly in the south of the 64 regions, while the Golden Dragon realm has been dormant all this time? Why? Because the men born in the Raging Fire region are all men. Our hands are not only used to caress women's breasts, but also to kill people. You, Wu Su, with your current talent, you are not fit to be a member of the Raging Fire region. Letting you join the Raging Fire region is simply a disgrace to us, so I, Dongfang Jin, must first turn you into a real man, and then I can rest assured to let you carry out the missions of the Raging Fire region. What do you mean? The young domain lord will understand very quickly. Men, bring the gift I've prepared for the young domain lord. Yes, Vice Domain Lord. Soon, more than a dozen servants and soldiers walked into the main hall, each of them holding a pitch-black object. When the light shone on it, it was astonishingly clear that it was a bloody human head, and all of them were the heads of young and beautiful women. Ah, Wuxia was so frightened that he fell to his knees. These women were all very familiar. They were the concubines that Wuxia had brought out of the Golden Dragon realm, and all of them were women that he loved. Dongfang Jin, you. Wuxia's entire body trembled, and he almost couldn't speak clearly. You don't have to thank me, young domain lord. Dongfang Jin said lightly, only by cutting off these delusions of yours can you become a true powerhouse. Otherwise, you will only be bullied and humiliated by others for the rest of your life. At this time, Dongfang Yan finally opened his eyes and said, Dongfang Jin, that's enough. As he spoke, he looked at Wuxia and said, please forgive me if I have offended you, young domain lord. However, this mission is very important, and young domain lord must be careful. There must not be any mistakes. Yes. Dongfang domain lord. Wuxia knelt on the ground like a dog at death's door. Wu Feng didn't speak from the beginning to the end. He knew that this was a show put on by Dongfang Yan and Dongfang Jin, but he could only endure it. He was living under someone else's roof, and his strength was inferior to theirs, so he could only endure it. Dongfang Yan's breathing was very long, and he seemed to have signs of breaking through to the perfected Divine Emperor realm. Dongfang Jin, on the other hand, had 85 grotto heavens, and even Dongfang Jin, the deputy domain lord, was stronger than him. How could he protect his son, Wuxia? Moreover, Wu Feng had long realized that it was his pampering that made Wuxia so weak. Slowly kneeling on the ground, Wu Feng said, Domain Lord, please rest assured. I will definitely complete the mission. Also, thank you, Deputy Domain Lord, for teaching my son. Wu Feng thanks you. Old Domain Lord, you are welcome. Dongfang Jin smiled lightly, then, you may leave. I will get someone to send the commander's seal to the old domain lord. You will leave tomorrow morning, and you will arrive at the Sky Foothill region the day after. Yes. 3 days later, when the news reached the headquarters of the Dragon League, everyone was furious. Preposterous. Mochi Lin smashed the teacup in his hand and said, sending 2 stray dogs to attack my domain castle, how shameless. Lin General, I request for reinforcements. There are tens of thousands of servants in the domain castle. We can't go. Feng Zhanlin said. Yes, we can't go. Lin Muyu agreed. Why? Mochi Lin clenched his teeth. They are luring the tiger away from the mountain. Lin Muyu stood up from the Alliance Lord's throne and said, don't worry, Domain Lord Mochi. I believe that Dongfang Yan and Dongfang Jin are less than 100 miles away from us, waiting for us. As soon as we leave the domain castle, they will immediately attack the Spirit Sparrow Castle. At that time, we might not even have a place to stay. Perhaps, we will only lead the warriors who are above the Divine King realm. With the help of the void-breaking technique and flying, we will be able to reach the domain castle within an hour, kill Wu Feng and Wuxia, these 2 bastards, and then come back. Mochi Lin still had a glimmer of hope. No. Lin Muyu shook her head, what if Dongfang Yan ambushes us on the way? We will lose more. Mochi Lin was filled with regret, if this had happened earlier, I would have moved all my servants out of domain castle. Sigh. Marshal Lin, are we just going to sit back and do nothing? Are we just going to wait for those despicable people to destroy our domain castle? No, we have to do something. Lin Muyu frowned and said, "Beat the drums, summon all divine realm experts and above, and prepare to move out." Feng Zhanlin was shocked. "Lin General, didn't you say that you won't go to the Sky Foothill region? What are you going to do by gathering everyone here?" "Changing homes," Lin Muyu said indifferently. "What, changing homes?" Feng Zhanlin, Machi Lin, Feng Zhanhai, Machi Lei and the others were all stunned. "Yes, changing homes," Lin Muyu said in a low voice. "Our current strength is equal to that of the Raging Fire region, we can fight. As long as we gather all our forces and attack the domain castle of the Raging Fire region, there is no reason for Dongfang Yan not to go back to defend. If he really doesn't, then we will take down the domain castle of the Raging Fire region in one fell swoop. The domain castle of the Raging Fire region is many times bigger than the Spirit Sparrow Castle, with abundant resources. Even if we exchange, we will not lose anything. If Dongfang Yan goes back to defend, then we can fight. Our battle with the Raging Fire region is today." Feng Zhanlin was shocked. "Let's do it today, what do you think?" Lin Muyu smiled. Immediately, Feng Zhanlin, Machi Lin and the others nodded. "Okay, today is the day." In terms of the number of God Realm experts, the Raging Fire region was superior, but in terms of the quality of the God Emperor experts, the Raging Fire region was far inferior. The Raging Fire region could only send out a few God Emperor experts like Dongfang Yan and Dongfang Jin. However, the Dragon League was different. Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai, Machi Lin, Machi Lei, and the others were all elites in the God Emperor realm. In addition to Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Shi Yan, Fu, and other uncertain factors, if they really fought, the Dragon League had at least a 70% chance of winning. At night, more than 800 God Realm experts stood tall like a forest. Under Lin Muyu's command, all 800 gods flew out of the Spirit Sparrow Castle. In the blink of an eye, they followed the mountain range and flew straight towards the direction of the Raging Fire region. Everyone flew close to the mountain ridge like a meteor in the night sky, but who would know that each of these meteors was a god who possessed a mighty godly power? Amidst the mountains, in a hidden col, a group of black-robed experts raised their heads to look at the flowing lights in the sky. Their faces were filled with shock. One of the people in the crowd frowned. "What is Lin Muyu doing?" It was Dongfang Yan, who had led 1,000 god state experts to ambush here, waiting for the opportunity to attack the Lingke castle. Dongfang Jin said coldly, "They seem to be heading towards the Raging Fire region. Could it be? Lin Muyu is crazy? He wants to attack our domain castle?" "He is not crazy." Dongfang Yan clenched his teeth. "He is a smart man. Is he going to fight with us? Domain Master, let's go back to the domain castle. We can't let them wait here with bated breath. Otherwise, Lin Muyu's people will attack the domain castle in an hour. That is the city we have been managing for thousands of years." Dongfang Yan took a deep breath. "I didn't expect that the battle that will decide the future of the Raging Fire region would take place in this nameless mountain. Everyone, don't hold back anymore. Attack. Destroy this so-called Dragon League." Yes. They didn't hide their auras anymore. They all took out their weapons and magic treasures, turned into streams of light, and rushed towards Lin Muyu and the others. In the sky, Lin Muyu had noticed the dense auras in the valley a few minutes earlier. She had already warned the others. The moment the Raging Fire region launched the attack, the people of the Dragon League also swooped down and fought with their opponents. For a moment, the night sky was lit up like it was daytime. All the gods used their powers, fire, ice, and wind blades in the sky. It was like a battlefield at the end of the world. Chapter 1006. They really dared to fight. The Raging Fire region had been in the south of the Mystery Land for thousands of years. No one would have thought that a newly established Dragon League would dare to fight with the Raging Fire region in the wild. How crazy and confident were they? In the air, raging flames and frost intertwined with each other, lingering around a shining long sword. It was Lin Muyu who had slashed down from the sky. Before the sword chi arrived, it had already locked onto Dongfang Yan. Lin Muyu, who was in the air, shouted in a low voice, "Dongfang Yan is mine. No one can take him away." As everyone knew, with the invisible elephant spell and the divine weapon, Xianyuan's sword, Lin Muyu could challenge 20 levels of Grotto Heaven. Now that he was at 69 levels of Grotto Heaven, it was not too much for him to challenge Dongfang Yan, who had just stepped into the 90th level of Grotto Heaven Great Perfection Celestial Emperor Realm. However, he was not sure if he could win. In fact, Lin Muyu had a clear plan. Recently, there were many rumors that Dongfang Yan had stepped into the 90th level of Grotto Heaven. If that was the case, Feng Zhanlin and Machi Lin would not be a match for Dongfang Yan. It was better to hold him back and let Feng Zhanlin and Machi Lin kill the other experts of the Raging Fire region. The Dragon League would have the upper hand in a war of attrition. Good. Dongfang Yan laughed and shot out like an arrow. Before he could reach Lin Muyu, he raised his finger and the sword on his back was unsheathed. It turned into a stream of light and shot towards Lin Muyu. Dongfang Yan had 3 flying swords, named Rainbow Light, Morning Dew, and Flame Blade. The flying sword in front of him was undoubtedly Rainbow Light. It was very bright. Pung! There was a loud sound in the air, which was especially noticeable in the Battle of Gods. Lin Muyu used all her strength to send Rainbow Light flying, but her arm was slightly numb. Lin Muyu had been improving rapidly in the past 6 months, but Dongfang Yan did not stay idle either. Dongfang Yan, who had stepped into the Perfection Celestial Emperor realm, had increased his divine power by at least 40%. It was a qualitative leap. Swish! A chill came from behind. It was the flying sword, Morning Dew. In terms of sword technique, Dongfang Yan was probably a master in this world. Lin Muyu stepped into the air and suddenly swung the Xianyuan sword. Her entire aura was like that of a giant shield, and even the shapeless grand void celestial body appeared beneath her feet. She was young, but she had the demeanor of a grandmaster. The Xianyuan sword swept past like lightning and knocked Chao Lu away, but a strong burning sensation came from above her head. It was the flaming blade. Last time, when the Raging Fire territory attacked the Sparrow territory, Dongfang Yan fought Feng Zhanlin alone for nearly an hour. Dongfang Yan only used 2 flying swords to attack Feng Zhanlin, but this time, he used 3 flying swords as soon as he attacked. It was clear that Dongfang Yan no longer regarded this fight as a game, but wanted to kill Lin Muyu as soon as possible. However, Lin Muyu, a young junior who had just entered the Emperor God realm, had a profound cultivation. Her attack and defense were orderly, and she was not disturbed at all. Gently grabbing at her waist with her left hand, Lin Muyu's palm shook with the whistling sound of Demon Noise Fist. She directly sent the Demon Noise blade into the sky. There was a loud explosion above her head, and the flame surged like a round plate. The Demon Noise blade almost perfectly resolved the attack of the flame blade. Once the Demon Noise blade was out, Lin Muyu did not think of withdrawing it in a short time. She held the sword in one hand and slashed at Dongfang Yan, while her left palm slightly opened, controlling the Demon Noise blade to attack from another direction. Since Dongfang Yan was a sword master, Lin Muyu had to show her skill, otherwise, she would be at a disadvantage. When the rainbow light was shaken away by Xianyuan's sword for the 3rd time, Dongfang Yan's face was already very ugly. As a great perfection Emperor God, he actually could not suppress this first-stage junior Emperor God? He had no choice but to directly hold the rainbow light, activating his divine power. Flames lingered around his body, and he forcibly clashed with Lin Muyu who was holding Xianyuan's sword. A sword master's ability to attack with a sword was also extraordinary. However, Lin Muyu's sword skills were more effective and lethal. When Xianyuan's sword collided with the rainbow light, he let out a low roar. Suddenly, there seemed to be vines and shadows spreading out in the surrounding air, turning into a destructive cold wind that blew towards Dongfang Yan. Chaos of all lives. Dongfang Yan squinted his eyes, and the god wall on the surface of his body made a buzzing sound. This brat's simple attack actually broke through the earth chi, and directly faced the god wall. Step back. Dongfang Yan swept the rainbow light horizontally, and it was so fast that it was almost impossible to be seen by the naked eye. Lin Muyu felt a chill in her heart, as if she felt the pain of her abdomen being torn by a sharp blade. She hurriedly retreated a few meters, and when she raised her head, two flowing lights attacked her. Two-pronged attack. Dongfang Yan let out a roar, and suddenly concentrated his divine power in the air. The two flying swords turned into two giant pillars, and even directly tore apart an ultimate god along the way who could not dodge in time. This attack was definitely not a trivial one. Lin Muyu did not dare to underestimate it. He quickly raised his left arm, and the buzzing sound of the dragon was endless. Red scales flew out of the void and condensed into a dragon armor around his body. After not seeing each other for a long time, it seemed that Acatosaurus's power had become more solid. At the same time, a dragon blood battle shield was condensed on his arm, and he used his strongest posture to defend against Dongfang Yan's attack. Boom! The two swords landed on the dragon blood battle shield like cannonballs. Ice and fire elemental lights shot into the sky. The entire plane seemed to tremble because of this attack. Lin Muyu's arm was numb from the impact, and her blood and chi were in a mess. She even felt like she had lost control of her left arm. Dongfang Yan's strength was obvious. Swoosh! A cold light flashed, and there was a sharp pain in his right arm. It was the rapid attack of the rainbow light. It directly tore a corner of the divine wall, and at the same time, cut a piece of Acatosaurus's scale. It left a few inches long wound on Lin Muyu's arm, and golden blood splashed out, sprinkling like golden pearls in the night sky. Dongfang Yan's speed was too fast. Lin Muyu hurriedly retreated with falling star steps, and at the same time, waved the Xianyuan sword to block several attacks of the rainbow light. The rainbow light could penetrate the divine wall, so it was obviously a divine weapon. Dongfang Yan had been operating in the 64 domains for so many years, and could be called an overlord, so it was reasonable that his personal weapon was not a divine weapon. At this time, Lin Muyu actually felt a little regretful. If she had known this would happen, she would not have fought with Dongfang Yan alone. However, if she did not block Dongfang Yan, and it was Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai, Machi Lin, and the others, the winner might have been decided by now. Dongfang Yan was completely different from the Dongfang Yan half a year ago. At this moment, Dongfang Yan had been reborn, and his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. Feng Zhanlin and the others were no match for him anymore. Do you think the Supreme Godhead is omnipotent? Dongfang Yan's eyes were full of sarcasm. Riding on the three swords, he laughed loudly and said, "You don't deserve this Supreme Godhead. From now on, it belongs to me, Dongfang Yan." The rainbow light tore through the air, and at the same time, the morning dew and the flaming blade came from the left and right. The whole territory seemed to be locked by Dongfang Yan's aura, leaving Lin Muyu no way out. Speed. It was still speed. Dongfang Yan was a sword master, so he had the upper hand in terms of speed. His understanding of the law of fire and wind was even higher than that of Lin Muyu. Every attack of his was in accordance with the air, the momentum and the power of nature, which doubled the attack power. It felt like he had the right time, the right place, and the right person. Fighting with such a strong master was not only a challenge, but also a pleasure. In the blink of an eye, Lin Muyu was in a dead end. Dongfang Yen launched an attack from 3 angles in an instant, which was impossible to defend against. Moreover, his power was so strong that ordinary moves could not block it at all. Lin Muyu had many powerful moves, but the 7 glorious stars transformation and the blood refining the sky needed time to accumulate power. When the power was enough, her body might have been pierced by the flying swords, so she could only block it with small moves. In a split second, he made a choice. The invisible elephant spell was activated automatically. The momentum of a mountain in front of him was directly borrowed, but it was not to attack Dongfang Yen, but to attack himself. At the same time, a mass of blood-red flames suddenly burst out of his left fist. The 2 glorious demonic spirits danced, and his fist fiercely hit the mountain. With a boom, Lin Muyu's body bounced back at an unimaginable speed. At the same time, she cleverly dodged the attacks of the morning dew and the flaming blade. At the same time, the Xian Yuan sword turned into a bolt of lightning, and with the 5 glorious mountains descending from the sky, it attacked Dongfang Yan's rainbow light at the fastest speed. Bang! The stardust surged. Before Dongfang Yen could figure out what was going on, he was knocked back dozens of meters by Lin Muyu's heavy blow. He couldn't imagine how this guy could move so fast. He just felt that the aura in the air suddenly became thick. Although it was strange, he couldn't see through it. How could he see through the invisible elephant spell of heavens upon heavens? Swish! A cold light flashed below. Dongfang Yen couldn't dodge it, so he hurriedly turned sideways. But his abdomen had been cut open, and golden blood splashed out. He was so eager to kill Lin Muyu that he forgot the magic noise saber he had released before. Bastard! Dongfang Yen flew into a rage. He jumped up and cut the magic noise saber into 4 small pieces with his sword. But it didn't matter, because the magic noise saber was originally made up of 4 small magic noise sabers. Lin Muyu raised his hand and condensed his spiritual power. Suddenly, the 4 flying sabers spun in the air like a train and returned to the knife bag at his waist. At this time, Lin Muyu's breathing was quite rapid. Dongfang Yan's determined attack was resolved with a few small moves, but it wasn't something to be proud of because it also consumed a lot of his strength. On the contrary, Dongfang Yan's killing intent was getting stronger and stronger. You surprised me. Dongfang Yen sneered. For tens of thousands of years, there have been many outstanding people in the 64 domains. I have seen many rare geniuses, but I have never met a peerless genius like you. I'm afraid there may not be one in 10,000 years. But your luck ends here. This world can't tolerate you living, and I can't tolerate you living in this world. As he said this, Dongfang Yen suddenly raised his hand, and a vast golden light shot up to the sky. Spirit Wheel. Chapter 1007. Lin Muyu had experienced the power of a divine wheel. Dongfang Yan's divine will might not be inferior to that of the radiant angel's eye. It was definitely twice as powerful as the demon emperor Nuslayer's divine wheel. After all, he was a perfected emperor god in the primordial mystery land. His body was strengthened by the spiritual power, and his divine power was purer and more vigorous. Moreover, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Feng Zhanlin, and Ma Qilin were fighting behind Lin Muyu. Once Dongfang Yan's divine will swept across the sky, the consequences would be unimaginable. With a buzzing sound, a huge golden will opened up in the sky. Dongfang Yan was crazy. He would rather kill his own people to kill Lin Muyu. Brother Yu. Mu, be careful. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi shouted at the same time. Then Shi Yan raised her eyebrows and said, You have no other choice. Use your most powerful divine will to fight against him. Only a divine will can neutralize the power of a divine wheel. Shi Yan's words were undoubtedly like a decree that could not be disobeyed, because it was the most correct choice. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. His supreme lattice shone with a dazzling radiance. 12 spirit beads of law came out of his body and surrounded him. He slowly pointed the Xianyuan sword forward. A fist-sized golden divine will emerged from the tip of the sword and became huge in the blink of an eye. As Lin Muyu concentrated his divine power, it continued to grow. In less than half a minute, it had already formed a huge wheel with a radius of at least 100 meters, facing Dongfang Yan's divine will from afar. Whoosh whoosh, at this moment, Lin Muyu was surrounded by an absolute domain that no one could enter. This domain protected the safety of the person using the divine wheel, and at the same time, it protected him from the impact of his own divine wheel. The huge golden roulette was like a bright mirror that reached the sky. It was bright, clear, and radiated in all directions. Not enough. Far from enough, Lin Muyu's eyebrows were tightly knitted together. He was unprecedentedly serious. He drained the divine power in his body and poured it into his divine wheel. He knew that the strength and quantity of his divine power was inferior to Dongfang Yan, who was in the full circle realm. He could only fight against him if he was stronger. The divine will was a forbidden power. Even Shi Yan had not used it too many times in her life. Firstly, the divine will was too destructive. Secondly, the backlash on the body was too severe. Dongfang Yan's use of the divine will meant that he was ready to risk his life. In fact, Dongfang Yan had already noticed during the battle with Lin Muyu. Many god kings and god emperors in the Raging Fire region had already been defeated by Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Feng Zhanlin, Ma Qilin, and others. If he could not turn the tide, the Raging Fire region would be finished. You, take the power of the martial soul. The martial soul is a gift from heaven and earth to the bloodline of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Hurry! Shi Yan shouted. Lin Muyu frowned. Her long sword began to hum. The power of the 7 luminaries' holy gourd and the god-binding shackles rushed into the divine wheel. In the EC, the power of the god-binding shackles and the 7 luminaries' holy gourd were absorbed in the blink of an eye. The EC became dim, but the light of the divine will at least doubled. Sure enough, Shi Yan was right. The power of 2 first-class martial souls could indeed increase the power of the divine will by a lot. Dongfang Yan let out a heart-wrenching roar. It was probably his first time using the divine wheel. His old face looked very ferocious under the strong wind. He looked at Lin Muyu with a pair of jealous and angry eyes and shouted, "Come on, let me see how powerful you, the marshal of the left army of the Eastern Heaven Realm, are. Go to hell." Boom! Dongfang Yan's divine will surged forward. Lin Muyu took the responsibility. Her arms shook slightly, and suddenly the Xianyuan sword made a buzzing sound and rushed towards Dongfang Yan's divine will with the sound of a tsunami. However, the size of Dongfang Yan's divine will was at least 1.5 times that of Lin Muyu, so it was obvious who was stronger and who was weaker. Most of the gods who were fighting had stopped and watched the collision of the 2 divine wheels with their mouths agape. For a moment, the sky lost its color and the earth shook. Boom, boom, boom. The 2 divine wills exploded at the same time, forming a destructive hurricane. In an instant, all the plants on the mountains and the earth were quickly desolate and withered. Lin Muyu, who bore the brunt of the impact, let out a miserable howl. The dragon armor on the surface of his body peeled off inch by inch, and even dragon blood flowed out. In the blink of an eye, the Acatosaurus disintegrated his body and entered a different space to avoid the disaster. So disloyal. Lin Muyu held the Xianyuan sword horizontally and concentrated the remaining divine power in the long sword to protect his master. At this time, he could only resist the attack head-on. The power of the divine will sealed the surrounding area. Not to mention breaking the void, even the divine book of the law of space could not escape. Clap, 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 the divine wall turned into golden energy armor and dissipated in the wind. The next moment, the fierce wind of the divine will cut through Lin Muyu's body, leaving deep wounds on his arms, chest, and legs. It was really scary, but Lin Muyu held the sword and continued to fly forward in pain. He had something he had to do. Kill Dongfang Yen. If Dongfang Yen did not die, the war between the Dragon League and the Raging Fire territory would not be over. At the center of the collision of the divine wheels, no one could get in. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were so scared that their faces turned pale. They tried to charge at Lin Muyu several times, but they could not get close to him. They could only watch this crazy guy fly toward Dongfang Yen. Dongfang Yan's body was covered with blood. His white robe was no longer holy, but stained with blood. He looked even older. His blood vessels had even burst in order to activate the power of the divine wheel. It was a horrible sight to see. But his eyes were still filled with hatred and resentment when he looked at Lin Muyu. He wanted to kill Lin Muyu, just like Lin Muyu wanted to kill him. There could not be two tigers in one mountain. This was probably the feeling. In the south of the 64 regions, there could only be one king who could guard the whole region. Bastard, Dongfang Yen roared angrily. His left hand was facing Du, and his right hand was rainbow light, slashing toward Lin Muyu. But Lin Muyu just swung the Xianyuan sword. With two clangs, Dongfang Yan's swords were knocked away. Both of them had almost used up their divine power. The collision at this time was just a contest of mortal strength. At this time, Lin Muyu's advantage also showed. He was young, while Dongfang Yen was already an old god in the ancient mystery land. He had lived for thousands of years. According to the age of the gods in the ancient mystery land, he was about to die. How could an old god compare to a young and strong god like Lin Muyu? Puff, Dongfang Yen spat out a mouthful of blood. He waved his swords weakly and slashed again. He didn't even have the strength to control his swords. Lin Muyu swung his swords with both hands. With two clangs, Rainbow Light and Du's flying swords were knocked away. Then, he lifted his boot and kicked Dongfang Yan's abdomen. With a muffled sound, Dongfang Yen slid down from the sky. Behind him, the gods of the Raging Fire region were all stunned. No one had thought that Dongfang Yen, who was so powerful in the Raging Fire region, would end up in such a miserable state. Go to hell. Lin Muyu flew down from the sky, and the Xianyuan sword went straight for Dongfang Yan's neck. But Dongfang Yen seemed to have some strength left. He hurriedly dodged sideways. He dodged the attack on his neck, but failed to dodge the attack on his arm. With a crack, the Xianyuan sword was so sharp that it directly cut off one of Dongfang Yan's arms. Save the region master. Several gods of the Raging Fire region shouted, but most people stood there, dumbfounded. The invincible Dongfang Yen was defeated. To them, this was like a fairy tale. How could Dongfang Yen be defeated? He was an invincible being. Protect Lin General. The power of the divine will had completely begun to fade. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi arrived at the scene immediately. They protected Lin Muyu from both sides, in case he was ambushed. Meanwhile, Feng Zhanlin, Ma Qilin, and the others led the army of the Dragon League to attack Dongfang Yen. It seemed that they were going to devour the gods of the Raging Fire region. Lin Muyu looked straight at Dongfang Yen falling into the dark mountains. Her body trembled slightly, and she said, Don't let Dongfang Yen go. Bring his head to me. Yes, Lin General. Feng Zhanlin, Ma Qilin, Luo Xintian, and the others rushed forward without a care for their own safety. The world was once again filled with colorful divine power. Lin Muyu's battle was over, but the battle of the Dragon League was not over yet. In this battle, they had to kill Dongfang Yen and capture the gods of the Raging Fire region. Otherwise, they would have fought a big battle for nothing. How are you? Qin Yin looked at Lin Muyu, who was covered in blood. She was scared out of her wits. I'm fine. Lin Muyu smiled, but she was in pain all over her body. Her face was covered in cold sweat. She held Qin Yin's shoulder with one hand to keep herself flying in the air. She said, "Shao Yin, stay here to protect me. Shao Shi, Fuzhu, go and help them. The Dragon League needs your strength. Remember, don't kill people. Just injure them. Don't let them escape. The more, the better." "Okay." Tang Xiaoxi nodded happily. Lin Muyu raised her hand and handed the Xian Yuan sword to Shi Yan. She said, "Can I borrow it for a while?" Shi Yan shook her head and smiled. "No need. I will stay here with Xin to protect you. I don't want to kill too much." "Okay." Lin Muyu also knew that Shi Yan had long been tired of the vendetta between the divine realm, so she did not make things difficult for her. She stood in the night sky with the two peerless beauties and watched the war of the Protoss. Colorful laws were colliding everywhere between the mountains and the wilderness. It was like watching a three-dimensional movie. It was extremely exciting. Dongfang Yen was defeated. Dongfang Jin was injured by Feng Zhanlin and Ma Qilin. Most of the 18 god emperors of the Raging Fire region had lost their ability to fight. The battle was over. The only variable was whether they could kill Dongfang Yen. As long as they could kill Dongfang Yen, the Raging Fire region would be completely eradicated. After all, the Raging Fire region was the territory of the Dongfang family. If they did not kill Dongfang Yen, they would be able to rise again. The battle lasted for nearly 6 hours. No one knew how many God Realm experts were lost or escaped in the deep mountains. Lin Muyu ordered them not to chase too far. When the sun rose in the east, the battle was over. Feng Zhanlin, Ma Qilin, Feng Zhanhai, Luo Xintian and the others came back covered in blood, but their faces were full of smiles. "Where is Dongfang Yen?" Lin Muyu asked. "He ran away." "Then why are you guys laughing?" Chapter 1008. The rays of the rising sun shone on the mountains. This unknown mountainous region was full of huge potholes, and a few mountain tops were even raised to the ground. The pothole caused by the spirit wheel was the largest, and it was like a huge basin. After this battle, the entire mountainous region looked like it had been hit by a meteor shower. There were people everywhere in the messy valley, including the wounded and those God Realm experts of the Raging Fire territory who were captured because they didn't have time to escape. "Use the soul-binding lock," Feng Zhanlin ordered loudly in the crowd. He coughed violently, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The battle was so intense that he vomited blood due to his severe injuries. "Lord of the Feng territory, are you all right?" Ma Qilin asked with a frown. "I'm fine. Dongfang Jin's palm strength is indeed extraordinary." Feng Zhanlin laughed mockingly. "If it wasn't for my Gang Qi protection, I'm afraid that sneak attack of his would have killed me." Ma Qilin shook his head and laughed. "However, the Raging Fire territory is finished. After this defeat, it will never be able to recover to its former glory." "Yes." Lin Muyu brought Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi back to the ground. When they landed, they saw Feng Zhanlin and the others putting shackles on the hands of the injured God State experts of the Raging Fire territory, making it impossible for them to use their divine power, let alone their ability to break through the void. There were sharp thorns on each shackle. The thorns pierced into the skin but did not bleed. However, they blocked the flow of divine power. It was similar to the demonic heart arrow in the Shattered Cauldron realm, but much more cruel. "These are the soul-binding lock?" Lin Muyu asked. "Yes, Lin General." Feng Zhanlin knew that he was not from the prehistoric mystery realm and would not know. He said respectfully, "The soul-binding lock is made of a special material that can poison the blood, making it impossible for the wearer to use divine power. The 64 domains have always used this method to imprison God State experts." Lin Muyu nodded. How many people were captured in this battle? Reporting to Lin General, we have captured 9 Emperor Gods, 140 Divine Kings, and more than 400 Ultimate Gods. In addition, we have killed 3 Emperor Gods, nearly 100 Divine Kings, and nearly 300 Ultimate Gods. After this battle, the Raging Fire region is almost completely annihilated. There are less than 100 people who escaped with Dongfang Yen. Please rest assured, Lin General. With that, Feng Zhanlin immersed himself in the morning light, closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and said with a smile, I didn't expect our Spirit Sparrow territory to have such achievements today. Destroying the Raging Fire territory is the long-cherished wish of our ancestors, and it has finally been realized in my generation. Thank you, Lin General, for letting me, Feng Zhanlin, fulfill my wish. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. This is what we both wanted. There's no need to thank me. We're already on the same side. Yes. Machi Lin said respectfully, Lin General, we've revived a few hundred captives. What should we do now? Bring them back to the Spirit Sparrow Castle of the Dragon League, or? Lin Muyu thought for a while and asked, Dongfang Yen has been seriously injured and defeated, but he still has some strength. He probably doesn't have the guts to return to the territory castle of the Raging Fire region. Where do you think he will go? Well. Machi Lin thought for a while and said, thousands of miles to the south of the 64 regions, there seems to be no place for Dongfang Yen except the Raging Fire region. After all, the Raging Fire region has been fighting with the other regions in the south for so many years. Not necessarily. A beautiful girl walked out from the crowd. It was Luo Xintian. She raised her eyebrows and said, as far as I know, not all of the 10 southern regions have been attacked by the Raging Fire region. For example, the Falling Star region in the southwest has never fought with the Raging Fire region. If I remember correctly, the region lord of the Falling Star region, Xianxian, is a friend of Dongfang Yen. It is said that Dongfang Yen once gave 10 beautiful concubines to Dongfang Yen, and Dongfang Yen gave hundreds of precious spirit fruit trees to Xianxian. The two families have never had any conflict. The Falling Star region? Feng Zhanlin could not help but frown and said, this is a problem. How could I forget about the Falling Star region? Lin Muyu had seen the map of the 64 regions and knew the location of the Falling Star region. She said, the Falling Star region is quite far from here. They won't be able to attack it in a short time. Region Lord Feng, how strong is the Falling Star region? Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists and said, Lin General, the Falling Star region has a total of 12 Emperor Gods, 200 Divine Kings, and more than 600 Ultimate Gods. It is one of the southern regions whose strength is second only to the Raging Fire region. If what Luo Xintian said is true, we may have to face a new opponent. It doesn't matter. We will rest for a while. Yes. Then. Machi Lin said, what should we do with the domain castle of the Raging Fire region? It is the largest domain castle among the dozens of southern regions. It is more than twice the size of our Lingke castle. Lin Muyu smiled and said, it seems that we will have to change the domain castle again. All the Divine Realm experts of the Dragon League will move to the domain castle of the Raging Fire region. In addition, the domain castle of the Raging Fire region will be renamed Dragon City. It will be the capital of our Dragon League. From now on, it will not change. Feng Zhanlin asked with a smile. No, I won't. Otherwise, I'm afraid all your spirit fruit trees will die if I transplant them again. Yes, Lin General is wise. They are my precious babies. Ha ha ha. In the afternoon, Lin Muyu led the team to the Raging Fire region. Just like the legend said, the city had been in operation for tens of thousands of years. It was like a towering giant. The city was inlaid with countless glittering stones. These stones contained sealing power, protecting the city from the erosion of wind and sun, and from the attacks of wild animals. With a rumbling sound, the city gate was opened. After knowing that the Divine Realm experts of the Raging Fire region were almost wiped out, the servant army in the city had already announced their surrender to the Dragon League. These servant army were very smart. They knew that they were just vassals. It did not matter who they followed, what mattered was that they could survive. After entering the city, before dusk, the name of the city was changed to Dragon City. Feng Zhanlin personally carved the words, Dragon League, on a 10-meter-high rock. He used hundreds of Divine Realm experts to insert the rock into the open space outside the city to show the majesty of the Dragon League. After that, the next thing to do was ideological work. They had to turn the captives of the Raging Fire region into members of the Dragon League as soon as possible. This ideological work was actually very simple. First of all, Lin Muyu, who had been in the mortal world for more than 10 years, was a king and a commander-in-chief, was simply too good at it. Secondly, Shi Yan used her identity as a seraph to win the hearts of some Divine Realm experts. Who would want to be enemies with a seraph? More importantly, Lin Muyu single-handedly defeated Dongfang Yan. This was seen by everyone. Lin Muyu's divine will was even comparable to Dongfang Yan's divine wheel. This was more important than anything else. The primordial mystery land admired the strong. Lin Muyu defeated Dongfang Yan and was easygoing. Soon, she established an image of a hero in the hearts of the Divine Realm experts of the Dragon League. The 64 regions fought every year and needed such a hero who had the personality of a sovereign and could decide the world with one sword. Just think about it, a god-emperor with a supreme disposition, wielding the peerless divine weapon, the Xianyuan sword, and the identity of the left army marshal of the Eastern Heaven realm. If he didn't pledge his loyalty to such a person, who else could he pledge his loyalty to? Compared to Lin Muyu, Dongfang Yan, Wu Feng, and the others were simply wild gods that had wandered about in the primordial era. They weren't even worth mentioning. In less than 3 days, the hundreds of God Realm experts of the Raging Fire territory who were resurrected in the Battle of the Nameless Valley had almost all pledged their loyalty, except for a few people with the surname Dongfang. And they were imprisoned in the dungeon deep within Dragon City. Late at night, the sky was filled with stars. The huge ice crystals in the sky above Dragon City were incomparably clear, unexpectedly not obstructing the light of the stars in the slightest. On the streets, rows of servants slowly walked by with weapons in their hands. The Dragon League's night patrols were extraordinarily strict. Lin Muyu walked on the stone path, thinking about the fallen star domain. As she walked, a person appeared in front of her. He was wearing a black robe. Who is it? Without another word, the black-robed man fled. Stop. There was no reason for Lin Muyu to let him go. She rushed forward with vigorous steps. She didn't even have time to unsheath the Xianyuan sword, so she directly used her palm as a knife and slashed out the first appearance of starlight. The black-robed man knew that he couldn't escape, so he hurriedly turned around and raised his fist to meet it. Wisps of flames rushed toward his face, and with a bang, his fist collided with Lin Muyu's palm knife. Suddenly, a strong counterforce came. Huh! Lin Muyu was shocked. This person was also an emperor god, and his cultivation was not low. Leaping over, Lin Muyu kicked in the air without any hesitation. There was a fierce storm around her ankle, which was the power of the 3 luminaries all-calamity. The black-robed man couldn't dodge, so he could only raise his arms to block with his fists. Bang! With a muffled sound in the middle of the night, the nearby servant army seemed to be attracted. Many people raised their weapons and shouted, "Who is it? Stop! How dare you fight with Lin General? Don't come over!" Lin Muyu raised her arm to signal the servant army not to come over. This group of people would also die if they came over, so there was no need to let them be cannon fodder. Looking coldly at the masked black-robed man, Lin Muyu raised her hand and slowly pulled out the Xianyuan sword. It was time to get serious. But at the moment when the Xian Yuan sword was unsheathed, the black-robed man smiled bitterly and reached out to pull down the black cloth covering his face. He said, "Lin General, stop fighting. It's me. I admit defeat." "You? Feng Zhanlin?" Lin Muyu turned pale with fright. The person who sneaked into the streets of Dragon City in the middle of the night was actually Feng Zhanlin. You came out of the dungeon in the middle of the night. What's going on?" Lin Muyu asked. Feng Zhanlin smiled helplessly. "To do something that Lin General doesn't want to do." "What is it?" Feng Zhanlin raised his hand and took out a pile of sparkling godhoods that looked like gems. He said indifferently, "The godhoods of Dongfang Sun, Dongfang Gu, Dongfang Zui, Dongfang Yao, and Dongfang Mei were all forcibly extracted by this subordinate. I know it's cruel, but it's best for Dragon City to turn these people into useless people. Otherwise, they will always be a hidden danger to the Dragon League if they stay in Dragon City. 1,000-mile dike can be destroyed by an ant's nest. Lin General should understand this better than this subordinate." You're tuning in to the Unparalleled Sword Will YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.